Hello, welcome to Breakfast Central here on News Central Television. If you're watching us for the first time, you have made a fantastic decision. This morning, the trio is complete and wow, so many things happening across the country. Sad news coming out of Kwara State again. And of course, the electoral reform bills, the latest, will bring you insightful analysis of that and much more. I am Benga Aborowa. Welcome to Breakfast Central.
It's one more day to the official end of the working week. Thank you for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. Like Benga did mention, we're going to be exploring some stories, looking at what the latest is with the Senate and the electoral reforms. I would say this is unpleasant news, especially going off the back of the 2023 elections and how it was very important that we, looked at the immediate translation, a real-time translation of results, and what the impact of the Senate's decision will look like. We'll be exploring that in detail much later. My name is Olive Emodi, and you're welcome to the show.
My name is Joe Hansen. Welcoming you to Breakfast Central, just as the team is rightly said. We're ready and set for a Thursday edition. Well, don't forget, too, that a lot has been happening while you were asleep. Just in case you missed out on the latest news and current affairs, especially the ones affecting you in Nigeria, we're here to break them down for you. We're going to talk about the the electoral reforms is one of the biggest stories, and not forgetting to the one Benga mentioned as well, sad times for our friends, our brothers, and our sisters who are locked in, especially in Kwara State, plus the attack that did take place in the northern region as well. So there's a lot to cover, and I want to say welcome. Stay with us. Don't forget, we're also streaming live, so you can follow us, watch us online, either on Facebook, YouTube, or better still on X. We'll be here to take you for the next 3 hours or thereabout.
I would say Facebook, X, or better still on YouTube. YouTube is my own better still.
That's what it is.
How are you, gentlemen?
Well, we're keeping up. Sad stories from yesterday. The figures are still uncertain. You do hear that they said Kwara had that 72 hours ago, Kwara had the worst attack ever recorded. And I'm shocked that the country still is the way it is. When I say the way it is, it means
people are going about their business like nothing happened.
Yeah, I don't mean,
and it's most of the international press that is even carrying the story. And the state government is disputing the figures. The international press is saying 164. The Kwara state government is banding around 74, less than 100. But still, I mean, these are Nigerian lives, and there are dozens of them that have been killed in the most violent way possible.
And
then you wonder, what's the responsibility of the Nigerian government? That's just the basics.
That's the hardest part, Benga. The part you mentioned, the way in which they were killed, is one thing for someone to die of natural causes. It's another thing for them to be killed in a way that strips them of their dignity. I mean, the dignity of human person, or the dignity to human person, is a right enshrined in the Constitution that should be upheld in life and in death. And if someone has to die, at the very least, let it be that they're dying of natural causes, not because there's been a failure to guarantee their security, a failure on the part of their government. We will always go back to the government, because when there's a problem with insecurity, yes, it is the citizens, but it's the government that understands that when it's taking up the responsibility to lead the citizens, it's guaranteeing them certain basics. And security should be one of them. Insecurity should not be the norm, and that seems to have been the norm. I mean, just hearing how they were gathered together, like some people were shot at close range.
I mean, the pictures, I saw some of the pictures, very gory. And
I couldn't look at it. I couldn't look at it.
Absolutely heart-wrenching. And you wonder, where's the hope? I mean, if you're a Nigerian citizen anywhere in Nigeria, you have to be seriously worried. And we need to talk about these issues. Because, I mean, this is, before it used to be something that was so far away, people were disconnected. It's enraging almost every part of the Federation. And it seems the terrorists have a upper hand, because how do you even get weapons? Who are these terrorists? Who are their sponsors? How do they mobilize? How do they move around? It's not, we're journalists, we're not security experts. The security experts, those who have been handed the responsibility to look after, and that said that you should not pity us when they were seeking elections, should please step up. It's been one too many. We're tired of condolence messages that are just copy and paste from the last one. We're tired of, we're on top of the situation. We'll find those who did this. Please do something about this. Let this be the last time we hear about such wanton killings.
This let this be the last time sounds like a teacher giving an instruction to a student. The unfortunate thing
it's one day too many.
In the reality of what we see in Nigeria, you recall that the security experts we bring on the show often would say that this will not be the last attack. Because you also have to judge by the body language of the government and see if the government has acted in a way that shows that they have the upper hand.
What do we need to do differently?
You're even talking about, I mean, we're still talking about Kwara State. The governor had appeared just recently, video surfaced overnight. The governor took a trip. He's calling on the President Bola Tinubu to step in, that the killings are too much. But another thing I'm worried about is the narrative as well. Governor Abdurrahman Abdurrazak is saying that there were 70-something Muslims that were killed. And they were told to radicalize the perpetrators. That's the terrorists came in and told them to, you know, join them.
They were preaching an extreme version, yes.
Extreme version. They said, no, they're not going to, and then they massacred them, as it were. While that was happening, Katsina State also had its own fair share. They had to bury over 20-something people just yesterday. And if you add the figures, hence why you have the media saying 200 dead in 72 hours. It's crazy. And sadly,
I mean, this calls for national emergency when we're not in a time of war. This is beyond low-intensity conflict. This is wartime figures that we're really in, and everyone is going about politicking, the campaign.
And there you understand.
It's really, really terrible.
Yes, and the sad thing about it is, not only are citizens losing their lives, those who haven't lost their lives have automatically become internally displaced persons, because no longer do their homes feel safe. Before, home used to be a place where people could go after a long day, a place where you would know is your own, even if nowhere else is. But for these citizens, where is home? They no longer have a home, and they don't feel safe anymore. Then there's also the talk of the post-traumatic stress disorder that a number of them would have to face for the rest of their lives. How much psychosocial support does the government provide to them, where they are able to lead normal lives and not just think that the next minute a terrorist is jumping out of the bushes, you know, and shooting them? It's the most despicable way to die. And we talk about it here, we'll show the clips, and guess what? We eventually move on.
A high number of Nigerians living in internally displaced camps. They can't go back to their communities because they've been overrun by terrorists and bandits. And we still have government officials going about their business like, you know, nothing is happening. It's not their business. Sorry to interrupt you. I remember, because of the sanctity of every human life, during the Charlie Hebdo massacre in France, a cartoonist wrote something, and violent extremists went into the publication, killed a number of people, and about less than 10 people. Heads of states of African countries, quite a number of them, prime ministers, they all flew to France in solidarity, and they were holding hands with the then French Prime Minister, François Hollande, saying, "Je suis Charlie." If you remember.
I remember.
That's to show how much they value a Nigerian life. I can guarantee you, since the high-intensity conflict began, the Russia-Ukraine conflict started, there's been no day where they recorded upwards of 200+ killed in action, casualties. And this is peacetime Nigeria. And, you know, the whole nation is not even pausing to say, wait, what's going on? Are we normal? People are going about, you know, no flags are flying at half mast.
I was going to mention that.
You know, people have no State of the Nation address.
Nothing. Yeah, I think it was in Senegal.
Nothing.
I'm not sure now where they had
so
an accident. And it was a road accident.
Yeah, it was Senegal.
Senegal, right? Yes. Where a number of people died, and they declared 3 days of national mourning and flags flown at half mast. And why they can do that is because they know it's not the norm. But the unfortunate thing is that here in Nigeria, if they do it today, they're going to do it in another 3 days. So how long will they keep flying?
Yeah, we need to, if we're going to do it every day, let's do it so that these killings will stop and we'll know how serious it is.
Okay, let's get into the conversations for this morning. Beginning wake-up conversation. I mean, that would form part of the conversation, and we're taking what Nigerians are saying about that. But let's bring you very shocking numbers that talks about a report that shares about 54% of minors taking alcohol. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, says A new national survey has released alarming levels of alcohol consumption among Nigerian children, with nearly 1 in 10 children under the age of 13 reportedly drinking alcohol every day. The findings, released on Tuesday and conducted in collaboration with the Distillers and Blenders Association of Nigeria across 6 states, show that more than half of the minors, about 54%, buy alcohol for themselves, often in small sachets and bottles that can easily be concealed. According to the agency, the widespread access is fueling early exposure and abuse among young people, prompting its decision to phase out alcoholic drinks in sachets and containers smaller than 200 milliliters. While manufacturers and traders argue the ban could hurt jobs and livelihoods, NAFDAC insists the move is necessary to curb underage drinking, protect public health, and limit children's easy access to alcohol nationwide. And we've talked about this on the show. We're going to talk about it again. Children have no business getting to alcohol. They have no business laying their hands on alcohol. And whatever we must do, regardless of, who it will affect, we must do to protect our children. We went to the streets. Jasiri went to the streets to ask people what they thought about the alcohol ban on sachets. And here's what they had to say.
Government buying sachet alcohol. That's the only brand people could afford. Bottles of beer are expensive, let alone the spirits and wine. Much, much dear and costly. If they ban sachet alcohol, people are going to protest.
I really support the government banning such, because it's really endangering people's life. And we have so many of it out there. We have the good ones, the ones that are not, from the company.
Little children, they don't have control over some of the things that they take. Sometimes when they take this alcohol, they misbehave, they go into all kinds of promiscuity. Some of them even commit suicide. That is why you see a lot of social vices in our country today. So whatever the government is thinking of doing or is already doing, I believe is for the general good of the youths and the children and Nigerians.
It will actually protect our youths, because instead of them wasting their money on something irrelevant, they actually use their money for something reasonable.
It is going to affect the livelihood of the sellers, the users, everybody. It's cut across.
Even though some people will say that it's going to affect their livelihood, because that is where they make their money from and all of that. But my message to Nigerians is that it's better that people should regulate the way they take alcohol.
If we look at it very well, we have so many people selling this sachet alcoholic drink. So if the government bans it, I think it's going to bring down so many businesses down. To me, I feel they should ban everything alcohol. And the reason is it's not really good. We have so many people taking too much of this alcohol drink. And when they keep taking it, it's just really bad for them. The government should at least help them in, when they collect these things from them, they render them, jobless. We have some people that goes there very early in the morning, goes to, goes outside to try and sell. So I believe they should help them with some funds and get another business doing.
I think government should look for something else to give to those people that are working in those companies. Like they should create another job opportunities for them, or they can actually use their company to maybe make something healthy for people, instead of just leaving those people that they were actually involved in the alcohol stuff.
I think the government should support them in many ways. Well, I can't say, because, we are saying this, but it depends on what they want to do. That's the government themselves. Even if they ban these people, there are many things they've done that I don't think support comes. If they can support people, I believe people would work on doing what is right. If they can share a helping hand to make job easier for people that are selling. Because I know it's because there is no work. That's why you see some people do what they're not expected to do.
People that they tell us say they don't ban alcohol, but we beg our government, they no ban our drink, because now here they use take care of my baby, use and shop. Me, where I did like this, I no get husband. Now me be husband, now me be pikin. Make it beg our government, make it no ban alcohol, because now here they use shop, take care of my baby. I beg.
So it's literally, for many people, caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. While some people have found that as their primary source of income, there are others who have worried, or who continue to worry, about the ease of accessibility to young people to people who should be working, drivers.
And that's one of the biggest problems.
You know, and that's
ease of accessibility.
Yeah, a driver, and even we've seen minors, drivers who should not be taking alcohol. People who should be on duty will just collect 1 or 2. I mean, Johansson knows how these things work.
As an investigative journalist, not as a consumer.
No, not as a consumer.
Yes. And I can categorically tell you that if you pass around Oshodi as early as 5 a.m., if you pass around Ojuelegba, there's a time we used to commute around Ojuelegba before getting to the office. We had to pass through Ojuelegba to pick one of our producers then, as early as 5 a.m. I can mention these spots: Ojuelegba, Oshodi, Yaba, Surulere, Ikeja, on that bridge. You would see these women all stocked up in that basin, ready to go. And like you rightly said, and Bingers concord, you see these drivers, it's so accessible. So they just pass, they pick the sachet, they pick 2, they tear it, and they are driving.
You know, we've not even mentioned the elephant in the room.
Which is?
Kidney problems, liver problems, health problems, health implications.
I'm even worried
down the road.
I'm even worried about the implication for the people in the car. So they tell you that it's too. I asked one of them that, why do you take this thing in the morning? He said, this one, you don't feel do anything. Just to open my eye.
Yeah, that's a very false.
That one told me that
narrative.
It's for his back pain, his waist pain, that when they take the sachet in the morning, it gingers them and helps relieve the back pain before they now go for the mixture. I mean, and there's monkey tail and all those ones.
And there's no medical review to back that.
So it's why even that
made up in their minds.
It's why the government had banned the sale of all those monkey tails and all those agbojedi. Unfortunately, they're still selling it because when it comes to medication, medication is made in certain proportions with certain ingredients, certain materials. Dosage, you can tell, 5% of this, 10% of this.
5 milligrams.
With alcohol, you cannot tell. They just mix all sorts, right? And when they mix all sorts, you're not sure of what you're taking. You're not
and it's led to many loss of lives, accidents. Even if you're working in a factory, they say do not operate machinery if under the influence. You're not allowed to fly a plane. You're not allowed to do certain things. To drive if you're under the influence.
Cough syrup
even work.
is written there.
I mean,
cough syrup,
most organizations, their human resources department have a workplace policy because they know what people do when they're under the influence. You're not supposed to drink. These guys don't even have a time frame of when they drink.
4 a.m.
Okay, let's go for after work drinks. We're done with work. They drink, and it's the easy accessibility. You know, it's like on the go.
Yeah.
You know, sachet just.
Wow. And then, you have a lot of experience.
Where you,
as an investigative journalist,
you check your pockets.
You have a lot of experience, and I can see.
You know, and there's a brand that is normally used for the gods, for libation and things like that. And guys have started, human beings have started drinking it. That brand that starts with S. They've even made it in sachet. Are people now gods?
See, listen.
Well, scripturally, Bible says we are gods.
I agree that it should be banned. I agree. And I'll tell you why. Whether you're watching and you hate it or love it, don't hate me. I mean, like they say, don't hate the player, I hate the game. I hate the game or love the game. The truth is, it is not safe. The demerits are way too many compared to the merits. Another aspect is that these sachets are responsible for blocking the road, the canals.
Yeah,
you find them. They also are the pet bottles. You find them whenever there's drainage. The drainage systems are always clogged.
You're right.
All of these things. So let's stop. We're not saying if you want to drink, don't drink. What we're saying now is the government is simply saying those small pet bottles, those tiny ones, the sachet gone. If you want to drink, like they say, it's a poor man's luxury. Poor man just adds more money, buy the big bottle. Because I don't think it will be normal for somebody to hold a big bottle and be drinking like this. I'm sure people in the bus will come down and say, Joe. Everybody will come. But because they see him tear it and press, and they say, he's taking little.
Well, from Lagos to Ibadan, he can tear.
He can take like 4.
Exactly.
They buy a sachet, they buy a wrap.
Yeah. So I agree with the both of you, because we cannot say that we are prioritizing. The truth is, with every illegal, okay, maybe not illegal, with every seemingly morally bankrupt action, because drinking and driving is actually illegal.
It's
against the law in everywhere in the world.
Yes.
But national officials let them do it.
So what I'm trying to drive at is, if money is the reason why you're making these decisions, every business that you're making illegal, there's always someone to profit from it. There's someone who would come and say today, please don't outlaw drugs, because it's how they make their money. It doesn't make it right. The people who say don't outlaw weed, it's how they make their money. Does it make it right? No. So I am completely, and without trying to sound...
I mean, after all,
without trying to sound
Sharia
privileged.
states
That don't do alcohol. Without trying to sound privileged, I would say that I'm completely in support of the total ban of sachet alcohol. The complete and total ban of sachet and PET bottles. It's not good. It's not safe for our children. It's endangering our children. And even for people who underestimate the impact, you see to yourself, it's just little. And before you know, you keep taking more. Your tolerance
becomes a culture.
And
then you're hurting your organs.
Gets worse.
In the long run, health implications.
I know we have to move to our next story, but before we go, I just want to highlight the fact that, you know, the irony of this sachet drink and the bottle, the small bottle. You know the irony of it all, guys. The irony, the most irony is that about 30 or 40%, I can't remember that statistics, of these drinks are fake.
Oh, they also make the fake.
Yes, they make, some people make them in the backyards. They're fake. So most of them drinking the PET bottle, the small one, they drink, they're like, they just mixed it. Somebody just mixed it behind. There are videos that have shown how they were caught. People were caught. They have the sealants. They have the machine. They put the thing in the sachet. They print everything. They put. So even, I mean, I was privileged to work with one of the
I think these days it's just safe to be drinking water.
Exactly.
I worked with a brewery company that was some years, about 2-3 years ago, for a weekend. And part of the meetings, I was part of the entire meeting and everything, in their presentations were like, they have a marketing challenge. In the market, they have people who are proliferating their same product and they are fake.
So in addition, what I was going to say to that is, if we're looking at fake, for me, I won't totally say fake is the reason I'll tell them to scrap it.
No, I'm just saying
because
the irony.
there are too many fake brands.
One of the reasons.
Okay, because even with the big ones, the big bottles also have it. You know, there's a particular brand that seems to be like, I mean, I don't know a lot of alcoholic brands, but this one, we hear people when they say, who are that? You know,
they say in Lagos.
They say every of that
one that sounds like Asun.
They say everyone, like majority of it in Lagos is fake.
You know what people say online? They say Lagos are your fake drinks. That Lagos, but let's leave it.
Anyway.
Kudos to the government. For Nigerians who don't want to agree, I like the fact that Jasiri went on the street. By the way, watch Jasiri. As soon as we end Breakfast Central at 10
a.m.
Jasiri starts at 10, so make sure you watch.
Okay, so let's bring good news. You know, move away from, it's been really dark, uncomfortable stuff. President Bola Tinubu on Tuesday declared that his administration will not back down, or his administration rather, will not back down on its sweeping economic reforms, despite the initial hardship they caused, saying the measures are critical to rebuilding Nigeria's economy and securing long-term growth. Speaking at the State House in Abuja while receiving a World Bank delegation led by Managing Director of Operations Anna Bikiet, Tinubu explained that his government removed the fuel subsidy and unified the exchange rate to curb corruption, stabilize the naira, and promote transparency and accountability in governance. He acknowledged that the reforms triggered inflation at first, but maintained that the economy is now showing signs of stability, adding that the focus is shifting to agriculture through mechanization, improved seedlings, and better access to fertilizers to boost farmers' productivity. The president also sought stronger World Bank support and financing to accelerate growth and create opportunities for Nigeria's large youth population, while the World Bank commended his steady leadership, describing the country's reform progress over the past 2 years as remarkable and increasingly recognized by global investors and policymakers. Gentlemen, let's take a look at this video and we'll come to share with you what Nigerians are saying.
It was difficult for a leader to look the other way in any corrupt environment for an opportunity that can give him quantum of money in subsidy regime. No. In multiple exchange. Give it up. Let the world and the country benefit from a stable currency. And yes, the first reaction was the high inflation, but it's come down dramatically. The naira is stable. Today, we can help various investors.
I think we should just see what Nigerians are saying first.
Before we go. To see what Nigerians are saying.
Nosa Ken says if President Tinubu was the president in 1999 with his vision, Nigeria wouldn't be in this mess we're in now. Tinubu is truly the best man for the job, says Nosa Ken. So I guess Mr. President can count on his vote in 2027, the vote of Nosa Ken. Zoe says inflation drowned dramatically. Naira stable. What Nigeria is Tinubu living in? Food prices are still skyrocketing. Naira fluctuates constantly, and people can barely afford basics. Telling the World Bank fairy tales while citizens suffer is peak disconnect. Zoe has a completely different opinion from Nosa Ken. Chibike says, if inflation reduces, you will not need to announce it. It will be in the streets. It cannot hide. Marketers, households, individuals will give feedback. Okay. Green says, okay, if the reformers continue, what is the government doing about electricity? We all know the backbone to a strong economy is cheap energy. That's why billionaires are moving factories anywhere that is cheap to produce things. Why not let us have a deal with China to build us a capacity to have cheap energy and using standard energy infrastructure? We have the method to generate electricity, gas, water, solar, wind, except nuclear, which I feel we should invest in. Let's focus on physical economy now and fiscal economy. And communication is key. Address the nation at least every 2 weeks. Let people know your goal, the aim of your policies, says Green. I agree with a lot of things he said. In that statement, Kotosia Face says, please, is it only on TV and paper that things, they calm down? Fuel went up 2 days ago to $8.90. So where are all these things coming down? Okay. And Hope says, calm down, as in it went higher to a level that is coming down, seems as if it actually came down, whereas the current down is still much more higher than where you met it. That's another debate, when the... Okay, we'll talk about that after we finish what Nigerians are saying. Sino King says, this was the tactics I used in each of my project defense, just like confidently. I want to know what university you went to, so they can review your degree.
I'll call you back.
I'll call you back.
Well, Benga, whether we like it or not, my take on this is that were the reforms that the current administration pushed forth, were they bad? Answer, no. And I'll say no because, one, subsidy removal was key, although there's still an argument whether subsidy has been removed.
Yeah.
And then what has the money been used for, the money gained?
And the way it was removed. Whether it has been removed is because recently there's a video that circulated online where a senator had said, oh no, they've not removed subsidy. And he's an APC member. And everybody's like, oh wait, what are you saying? Anyway, that aside. Second one is what we've just said right now, the manner in which subsidy was removed. The timing, most importantly for Nigerians, the timing. And people still feel betrayed that the person who's removing subsidy now blocked and stopped a former president from doing so, which was Goodluck Ebele Jonathan's time. And they feel like...
So could have swallowed the bitter pill a long time ago.
Then Naira was still as powerful as you can
imagine.
And
then you missed something very important. The removal of subsidy happened at the same time as the floating of the Naira.
So
it was
back to back. And the last question is, what are those in leadership, what are they doing to show that they are also willing to go through the same process that all Nigerians are going through? There's no
That's the last question, but the question before that last question is also the impact of the funds saved.
Oh yeah, I think that's the biggest question. Where is the money? Yeah, so but they always refer to two things, right? The state governments are getting
more FAC,
and then
allocation from FAC.
And then education, students can now access loans.
It's a loan at the end of the day. You're not, I mean, let's talk
it's
about...
It's not a gift.
Let's talk about improving the quality of education, teachers, the learning environment. It's not a gift, like you rightly said.
We'll go to break. When we come back from the break, we have one more story, and then we'll call Wake Up Conversations a wrap and get into our top stories. proper. Please stay with us. And keep the comments coming on YouTube. We'll take those after this break.
Maybe we can call that guy Mafia. We can call that guy. Yes, sir. I said her camera is not focused.
Gen Z can listen to rubbish.
What's me that song? Opafia. What's me that meaning? What's me meaning?
Na Gen Z song.
That Opafia mean dirty thing, no.
Where's Opafia? I've never
I
heard
don't know that song. Focus, focus.
Focus. And him a Wheezy. Say call that guy again.
I don't even know.
Focus on focus. They come to after they go say Opafia.
Oliver, I want to buy you this shoe. It will fit your leg.
I like
It
it.
look like hairbrush. It's 56,700.
I like it, actually.
No, they always focus past that one, though. They always clean.
Huh.
If you look, now this is it. I can tell you. No, go check online. Go check. I said, go check, go play back. Welcome back. You're watching Breakfast Central on a Thursday morning, and we are here live telling you what the latest story is. But let's go straight on YouTube and see what Nigerians are definitely saying there. Olive?
Yes. On YouTube, we have comments. We are streaming live via News Central TV live on YouTube. So please go there if you'd like us to share your thoughts. Lenny Equere says, it might sound funny, but you need alcohol to knock you off from some kind of news you wake up to in Nigeria, like 160 plus killed in a day. Even in Ukraine, where war day, people know they die like this. Crazy. Frank Obute says, they talk about corruption as if the corruption merchants are aliens. Is he talking about the Nigeria with Abuja as its capital, or there's another Nigeria elsewhere? And then Felix Okechukwu says, 5,000 megawatts for 230 million people, and the economy is doing well? Question mark. And 3 laughter emojis. Keep the comments coming.
Please,
on
can
YouTube.
you pronounce the 3 laughter emojis? Can you bring it to life?
Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha. Yes.
All right, now let's move. I mean, we did tell you this earlier about the unfortunate killings. We cannot but give you the details that at least 162 people have been killed after heavily armed gunmen attacked 2 villages, Woro and Nuku, in Kaiama Local Government Area of Kwara State, in what is being described as one of Nigeria's deadliest assaults in recent months. A Red Cross official confirmed the death toll yesterday on Wednesday, as local authorities say that the attackers stormed the communities on Tuesday evening, rounded up residents, shot many at close range, and set homes and shops ablaze. Survivors fled into nearby bushland with gunshot wounds, while several others, including the traditional ruler, remain missing as soldiers and volunteers continue search and recovery efforts. Lawmakers believe the Lakrawa group, an armed faction linked to the Islamic State, may be responsible, though no group has officially claimed the attack. The massacre has once again heightened fears over worsening insecurity in parts of northern Nigeria, despite ongoing military operations to curb terrorist and bandits' violence. Let's now head to X to share with you what Nigerians are saying. Sad to read this. Is the Nigerian government still working with Trump's administration on security matters? Sir Iang says. Well, there's an update on that, and we'll most likely take it during the show. Chidi Abure Ifeanyi says, 162 souls gone in hours. Nigeria keeps breaking its own records for deadliest attacks, and yet the response stays the same. When does this become unacceptable enough to force real change? My heart goes out to every person in Woro and beyond. Indeed, Chidi Abure, our heart does go out to them. 162 people killed, And the country is calm. No protest, no anger, no nothing. And Dija asks, is really business as usual. It's just 4th of February and at least 162 Nigerians have been killed by terrorists in Kwara State. A whole 162 human lives lost. And there's no emergency broadcast, no mourning, no national address, no grief and anger, just silence. What does it mean when the government, despite allocating billions for security budgets, still cannot protect citizens? Are Nigerian lives cheap? Relax. Tinubu is fixing Nigeria, but 162 innocent people lost their lives. And there's no national statement from the president, no accountability, no justice, no consequences. We are in serious trouble in Nigeria, Yinka Derek says. These are some of the thoughts. 162 plus lives lost and the world barely pauses. Terror doesn't become less evil because it happens far away. That's a good one. If this happened elsewhere, it will dominate headlines. Every victim deserves the same urgency. Timmy, thank you very much for that tweet. These are the tweets on X. We'll keep talking about this all day. Terror doesn't become less severe because it happens far away. And this isn't far away. It's coming closer and closer. In case you think that you're insulated from this, injustice to one is injustice to all. Let's now bring you our top stories this morning on Breakfast Central. This morning, so President Tinubu brokers peace deal, asks Nyesom Wike to halt impeachment of Fubara. That's very interesting. Senate did not reject electronic transmission of election results. Senator Akpabio clarifies. And INEC removes Julius Abure as Labour Party chairman from Portal. I wonder how Mr. Abambi will take this. VP Shettima launches Southeast Vision 2050 blueprint. And the newspaper front pages, as usual, forms the core of today's conversation. Join us for all these and more. In a major political development, President Bola Tinubu has intervened once again in the long-running crisis afflicting Rivers State, directing an end to all impeachment proceedings against Governor Siminalayi Fubara. According to multiple reports, the president not only ordered the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, to halt moves to remove the governor, but also instructed Governor Fubara to formally recognize Wike as the undisputed political leader of Rivers, a potentially controversial condition of the peace push.
The latest intervention comes as part of efforts to end months of bitter political infighting that has destabilized governance in the oil-rich state, triggered clashes within the ruling party structure, and threatened Fubara's administration with impeachment. While some see the directive as a bid to restore calm and unity, critics warn that it could undermine democratic norms, state autonomy, and the authority of the elected governor. Well, let's talk about this, as we do have former national chairman of IPAC, Mr. Peter Ameh, or better still call him the chief himself. Welcome, and thank you for joining us here on Breakfast Central.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Morning.
Thank you.
All right. The president reportedly instructed the minister, Nyesom Wike, to stop the impeachment of Governor Fubara, and at the same time, he asked the governor to recognize Wike as the undisputed political leader of the state. How significant is this statement politically, especially for Rivers State?
For Rivers State, what the president is trying to do is to try to keep his influence over the state politics and the political structure of the state, so that he will be able to harness those and harvest it in 2027. Because what he has done is contrary to all the provision, including the constitution of the APC, where governors are the leaders of their party in the state. And it is even frightening to discover that everybody knows that Wike is still a member of the PDP. So how come do you expect a member of the APC to be reporting to such person? So the president attempt to try to, undermine our multi-party and multiplicity of our political party participation is going to have a long-term effect on party politics in Nigeria. His attempt to try to play to all sides without alienating anyone so that he can, have the benefit of Fubara
being an Ijaw man and the voters of Ijaw, and then have Wike with his own supporters and political base, is not doing anybody good, and also affects the federal system that we are practicing, because the federal overreach we further make other governors, and that's why you find out this drove of governors moving into the APC, because there's so much entrenched interest coming from the presidency, in trying to, put hand into the affairs of state, whether politically, economically, and otherwise. So it is not good for our democracy. It is undermining the independence of the state assembly. It is weakening the executive authority of the state, and it will further have a long-term effect on our political progress if we continue to allow the president to use federal might, to resolve issues that could be resolved constitutionally. I asked the question: why didn't the president intervene when the State House of Assembly were calling for impeachment against Fubara? Why didn't he intervene when they sent their notice of impeachment to the Chief Justice of the state? Why didn't he intervene when they sat to try to continue the process? He only intervened after he found out that there's an obstacle to that impeachment. That obstacle came through a court judgment that was delivered in Rivers State and was served on the chief judge of the state. He only intervened when he discovered that the chief judge said he would be honoring the judgment that restricted him from not setting up panel as enshrined in our constitution as a procedure to continue this impeachment procedure. Because with that judgment and with the statement coming from the chief judge of the state, a spanner has been thrown to the wheel of the decision of the State House of Assembly to proceed with impeachment. So the president intervening is just a cosmetic arrangement to be able to show that they have not been defeated. Because if that proceeding was allowed to go on by the chief judge, I think the president would have kept silent, because with 26 members of the House of Assembly, supporting impeachment, Fubara and his deputy would have been a goner today. I think Fubara is feeling at a loss because the president sees Wike as more important than Fubara. And these are the problem with our state governors who will not learn from history. If they have learned from people like even him, the president, Bola Tinubu, where he stayed in his party because he had, the political sagacity at the time to be able to defend his own authority within his federal unit where he was controlling in Lagos State. If these governors were really performing, if these governors were really representative of their people, they won't go cap in hand in putting themselves in a stranded situation such where they cannot run their state without federal interventions or federal, how they call it, intervening in their issues on a daily basis. So I blame these governors because most of them have not been able to show that they can deliver for their people. Look at the kind of money that comes into the coffers of Rivers State. If that money was properly deployed for the benefit of the people, I think even the people would have been signaling to the State House of Assembly, to the president, the danger of him not following democratic constitutional guardrails to take his decision to protect the interest of the masses. So this is the challenge, but the president is only playing his own game to be able to have the support of Fubara and the support of Nyesom Wike as he goes to 2027. Because in true sense of it, APC has been very unpopular in the state, and Federal President Tinubu is also very unpopular in Rivers State because of the level of poverty and pervasive hunger that Nigeria is experiencing under his leadership. So whatever he's trying to do to be able to show the numbers is for him to do all his best and make sure that political structure and political leaders can help him to garner votes in the state. This is where the challenge of our democracy is currently hanging.
Now, Chief, failure to intervene, others would argue, might take us back to where we were before state of emergency was declared. And don't you think the president is the father of the nation, and as the leader of the APC, the governor belongs to the All Progressive Congress? The members, majority of the members of the Rivers State House of Assembly, if not all of them, belong to the All Progressive Congress. So it's a family matter. And also, the FCT minister, some will argue that his PDP in APC clothing is also, and is serving on the APC administration. So the president was being preemptive in allowing this not to snowball into a crisis and calling everyone together to deal with it as a family affair. I
don't think the president was preemptive enough. If it was, there was a foundation for those crises. There were times the Speaker, Amewule, was shouting, at the top of his voice in the chamber, State House of Assembly chamber, and the president never called him to hear his side or call him to order. I think it is the obstacle that came from the chief judge that actually, saved Fubara. And two, people talk about the president being the father of the country. The president is a president of everybody. He's supposed to take charge of, along with the constitutional provisions as our federating unit has been established, because we run a federal system that has a cascading level of leadership and authority, from federal, state, and local government. So the president cannot leave the federal line and then jump to state line, which will undermine our power system in the country. So he's not doing the right thing. And if you talk about them being members of one political party, his decision further weaken the internal mechanism of political party to deal with their issues. Because if political parties have national chairman, national secretary, organized secretary, and national working committee members who are supposed to see to the day-to-day affairs of party issues, if they have not been able to set up disciplinary measures or investigative panel to look at this, and we have turned our political party, our social democratic fabric, our everything, we have turned it into the hands of executive, federal executive, then we have a challenge, because at the end of the day, we will cause damage to the institutional, they call it democracy, that have been established by the 1999 Constitution to be able to give chance for people to be able to participate and handle issues democratically, because the president carries a lot of weight. The reason why the president is very powerful is that we are running, we borrowed this current federal system from the American, but we have made certain mistakes and certain adjustments that are further weakening the states. Like if you go to America, the National Guards are controlled by the state governors and all that. So you can't have a situation here where the state governor has any other authority apart from just being the chief security of their state on paper. So the president controls the army, the police, and the Air Force. And I also take exception to the fact that the president suspended the status of the governor and suspended the status of assembly. It was undemocratic because it did not follow the provisions of the Constitution. Because if the Constitution was to be, if you read it very well, is that the president can suspend, can pronounce a state of emergency, but not to suspend a democratically elected governor or state of assembly members who are equally elected as him and who controls a part of the federating unit of this country. And the procedure was also faulty when the president did not send this to the National Assembly. Yes, we have a very weak and praise-singing National Assembly today that we will approve after action has been taken or approve preemptively, thinking that this is what the president is thinking. He was supposed to send this request to the National Assembly and say, it's time for me to put a state of emergency because of how I feel and then there's supposed to be deliberation and approval given to him. But the president had made that pronouncement, used the military and whatever structure within his authority as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to remove the governor and suspend him from office. So this is not how democracy is practiced. You practice democracy by following rule of law. Without the rule of law, we'll go back to the abyssal state of nature, to the brutal, solitary path where strong men, determine the affairs of our state, and that will be very dangerous for our democratic governance. Because if you now start to create a system where one president does bad, the other president does worse, and it will continue to weaken that democratic protection that has been put in our constitution to make sure that democracy flourish and give rooms for people to discuss, people to dialogue, and people to agree. At the stance today,
Chief, is there still room for that? Chief, is there still room for that, for the implementation of democracy as it should be, democracy as you have described it, where the federal does not have to meddle into the state affairs? Is there still room for that in Rivers State with what we've seen? Because it does seem to many Nigerians that there's been a breakdown of structure in Rivers State, and it would seem that there's an elevation. Many have argued that what has been attempted to elevate there is the state of political godfatherism. So is there still hope for us to find a restoration of democracy as should be, or as you have described in Rivers State?
what we enjoy in River State today, or the whatever similar peace that you see, is a peace, a silence of the graveyard. And everybody is waiting to throw their shot during the election comes. But for us to save democracy, it's not just the responsibility of those who have been elected. If you go to civilized countries where we borrow this culture of participation, citizens' participation in governance, citizens' determination of how people are elected, you find out that the citizens' engagement. Our citizens disengage from governance immediately. Go to the ballot box. Maybe their candidate lost, or somebody who they voted for was elected, and then put a bracket in the house. You no longer can access them. They will disengage entirely from the process of participating, and then wait every 4 years for election, because they have forgotten that election is a during and post-election period. You are supposed to engage, do protests, call for short. You have left politics for politicians who are mostly very selfish and self-centered, and that's where the problem lies, because there's no way you can say that this piece of a graveyard that people are seeing in River State can be cured by the politician, except through the ballot box in 2027. So, and they will have to come to an agreement, because even if you go to the ballot box in 2027, the president might want to say for his own interest, if he remove Fubara, not giving Fubara ticket of his party because he controls the party, Fubara supporters might feel alienated and then decide to, give protest vote against him. And if he decides not to, Wike will not have his 26 members of House of Assembly return and his local government chairman that they have donated to him. If he does that, he will also have be on the other short end of the stick with Wike. So what he will want to do is to be able to balance it. So if you go post-2027, Fubara will still be facing the same challenges if he's elected under the same scenario, and the 26 House of Assembly members will still be there. That means post-2027, there will still be agitations for impeachment and defense, and governance in the state will suffer. The people who are supposed to be the benefit of and enjoy the benefit and dividends of democracy, especially with the huge, humongous, money that has been, allocated to the River State through the federation account, will still be at the very short end of the stick, and suffer the brunt of this continuous confusion, continuous putting personal interest above collective interest, and the anger of the people will only be bottled up if they are courageous enough to come out to tell the political leaders that enough is enough. If not, this horse trading will continue for a long time.
Okay, and also, I mean, we've talked about, many observers believe that this is an attempt to broker peace between the two powerful figures, between Governor Sim Fubara and Nyesom Wike. The directive now seems to be tilting the balance of power towards Wike, because the president has said that he should be recognized as the political, leader of the state. How do the people of River State receive this new directive?
If I was from River State, sincerely, I would not be happy, because you can. When Wike was governor, Wike stated clearly that the leader of the state is the governor, so you can't enjoy then out of power, you still hold the same authority, because the president is trying to force, a power on the state. So the president believes in Wike more, because of his ability to to struggle vote and then, make sure that the president votes are recorded in whatever manner so it deemed fit, So that the president believes in Wike more than Fubara. And I think if you judge from the president's reactions to what happened between him and Ambode in Lagos, I think the president is somebody who believes in Godfather to God's son system of politics. I think in a silent chamber, we would be very angry with Fubara for trying to break those kind of culture that exists, and does not believe that the people really have the democratic authority to determine their own fate and determine the leaders through the instrumentality of the ballot. So it's clear that if anybody will fall, if anybody will fail during the course of this discussion ahead of 2027, the president will be willing to sacrifice Fubara. There's no doubt about that.
Well.
Now, finally, Chief, my question is, what's the state of politics in River State with regards to the opposition? Because it seems like even the opposition is not taking advantage of the situation where you have a governor that seems to be beholden to godfathers and other external influences. And if there's a viable opposition in the state, they would definitely take advantage of this because they are not tied to any sort of on-the-table sort of deals. They will be committed to the people of Rivers State. Is there any opposition party in Rivers State, so to speak?
For me, I'm a member of the Labour Party, and I've told people, you know, that if you look at, since the governor is having this challenge, the opposition must, you know, come up with their own plan to be able to talk to the people and say, look, you can't have a governor that is beholden to several forces, you know, beholden to the president. He has to be beholden to the former, his godfather, and also to a special interest like those who come to TV and say, oh, Governor Fubara is the leader, and then the president reverses it. These people are just trying to make sure as much as possible to use the situation of a desperate man, you know, to gain some level of influence and resources. So we have a challenge with opposition forces in the state. And you know, for my own, I can speak a little bit for my party. We just got judgment, and I think the leader of the party, the national chairman of the party, and the leader of the party are putting everything together to make sure that the party is properly restructured so that we can take advantage of certain such situation as the need arises. But the fate of the state is it must be checked very well by opposition. Opposition must speak up. They must be able to, you know, because if you are not speaking up, you'll not be seen. The people must see that we are filling the gap, you know, that is being left behind by this crisis of APC, crisis of interest that does not protect the right of the indigenous and citizens of Rivers State. Like I've said in my opening, if you have, yesterday they were doing a Southeast Development Commission program in Enugu. When the OT went to the podium, you could see the kind of applause that he enjoyed. If a governor is performing, you don't need documentaries. You don't need to be beholden to forces. You don't need anything. The people will be happy because whatever small performance a president, a governor, a senator does in Nigeria, Nigerians are easily overwhelmed by a certain level of performance. So they are very grateful people. It's just that it's unfortunate that we have people in power who do not see this and take this as an advantage to be able to, you know, promote themselves and then rely on the authority of the people to seek for office. Right now they rely on federal might, they rely on manipulation of electoral processes, and you can see how the Electoral Act went. So this continues to be a challenge, but the people must, you know, rise up to the occasion, because the people are the ones who should be the greatest opposition, you know, to any level of policy that undermines participation, that undermines growth and development in the state or the federal government.
All right. Thank you so much, former National Chairman of IPAC, Chief Peter Ahmed. Thanks for joining us. And thanks for shedding light on the current situation in Rivers State and the President's involvement, what it means. We look forward to speak to you again. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
We'll move now and tell you what's coming up next here on Breakfast Central. Coming up next, Senate did not reject real-time electronic transmission of election results, so says Senate President. Vice President Shettima launches Southeast Vision 2050 blueprint, and group condemns Senate on electoral reforms. We'll have a reaction to that story and more. Stay with us.
The Nigerian Senate on Wednesday passed the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026 following hours of heated debate, rejecting a proposal that sought to mandate the real-time electronic upload of polling unit results while approving wide-ranging changes to Nigeria's electoral framework. Central to the controversy was Clause 60 of the bill, which addresses the transmission of election results. The lawmakers rejected the electronic transmission of election results, but rather retained the provision in the 2022 Electoral Act allowing results to be translated or transmitted in a manner determined by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, rather than compelling presiding officers to upload results to the INEC result viewing, that's IREF portal, in real time. Nigeria yet again falls or fails to join fellow African countries like Kenya, Ghana, South Africa, Namibia, Uganda, and Zambia, who already allow full electronic transmission of results. This decision has sparked widespread concern among Nigerians who fear it could determine and undermine transparency and credibility in future polls. This morning we'll be joined to have this conversation by three key members and advocates of electoral reforms in Nigeria's civil society space. But we'll be starting off the conversation this morning with the former executive director of Enough is Enough Nigeria, EIE, Yemi Adamuleko. Good morning and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right. Let's get your immediate reaction. You know, how crucial are these amendments to the Electoral Act bill, especially judging from the impact of immediate real-time transmission of results and the impact that we saw that it had in the 2023 elections? So how crucial are these amendments to the Electoral Act bill? And can we really say that the laws have truly been amended without inclusion of the full electoral transmission of results needed to strengthen the country's electoral process?
Thank you. I mean, I think a starting point would be to look at how the House and the Senate have approached this very differently. So for the House, they have approved, approved the mandatory transmission of results. The Senate hasn't. Not only have they not done it, it's taken them a while to even just get to this point. But I thought you guys were going to show a clip of Senator Fabio saying that it's not true what people are hearing on social media, that they did not reject it, but they did. He says they kept 2022. 2022's act says that results will be transmitted in a matter determined by INEC. INEC, through their regulations and guidelines, determined that they will be transmitted electronically through the IREV. But then, as part of the current president's challenge to his win, was the fact that the Supreme Court said no, that provision or that regulation doesn't really count, that they're going to go by what is in the Act. So the whole idea of this amendment to this 2026 amendment, if I should call it that, is that so it doesn't give the courts any room to say it was in a guideline, it was in a regulation, it wasn't in the Act, blah, 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 and just put it in the Act. So Senator Fabio lied. They did reject mandatory transmission of results, simple. And you then wonder why. I mean, actually, you don't need to wonder why. It just affirms what citizens continue to say, that politicians are not really interested in free and fair elections. Oh, let me take that back, because the House did pass it, so let me not paint all of them with the same brush. In this circumstance, that the Senate or senators are not interested in free, fair elections.
Well, there's so many questions to ask, so many. One bordering on the political party, the current political party, and so on. But I would like us to go back to Chatham House, where it all started, where the former INEC boss, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, put out a statement there while carrying out his presentation. I want to be sure that we have the video, so we can put that video up, and let's just take a listen.
And tested our innovations for election early enough. There are three critical components. The first one is the INEC voter enrollment device. It's called the IVED, for improved registration of voters. It's the same beavers, but when we register voters, there are peripherals we add. We add the fingerprint scanner and a thermal printer. So that we can register, take the fingerprints, and also print the temporary card. Then we have the INEC bimodal voter accreditation system for both voter accreditation and transmission of results for collation, and then the IREV, the INEC result viewing portal, to offer public access so that citizens can view results at polling units as the processes conclude. IVED has been deployed in the recent CVR, and as I said, we have 93.4 million registered voters, of which 37 million, that's 39.5%, are young people, young Nigerians between the ages of 18 and 34. And then they are closely followed by 33.4 million, or 35.7%.
All right, time will follow us if we continue to watch that video up until where the statements were made. But we do get the picture, and it's very key that we go back, because this forms the crux of what did happen in 2023. But let me come to you again, Adamuleko. Let's get your thoughts on this. Now that this clause, this specific clause, 60 subsection 3, has kept us at bay again, once again, keeping us in this circle, what are we expecting to see come 2027? I must also acknowledge that we do have joining us as well the Regional Advocacy Officer, West Africa Democratic Solidarity Network, quite a mouthful, right? Mr. Austin Aigbe, who's also here to speak on this. But let me come to you, Adamaleko, please. What are we expecting to see come 2027 with this latest update coming from the Assembly?
Thank you. Please call me Opayemi. I think before we get to 2027, I think more importantly will be what we allow to happen. So the Senate has passed, but because what they have passed is different from what the House has passed, the next process is what they call a conference committee. So they would have members of the House of Representatives and members of the Senate, I think 6 or 7 members from each of the chambers, who will then meet and then have a discussion of, okay, what would then be the National Assembly's final output that will get passed. And I think this provides an opportunity for Nigerians to really take their anger, commentary, whatever you want to call it, beyond social media, private conversations, woe is me, Nigeria is about to go to the doldrums, and put pressure on their senators. There are 109 senators. Every one of us, every one of the 90-something odd million registered voters that the former INEC chairman mentioned has a senator. So really sit on their heads, as I will put it. Yes, there's a committee that has like 6 or 7, but I think more importantly is really to put our senators under pressure for them to understand that citizens will not consider 2027 a fair election, or perhaps an election they plan to participate in, if these things are not amended. And I think maybe it needs to get to that point where Nigerians say, you know what, if we don't solve this problem, if we don't have an act that ensures that we would have free, fair, and credible elections, then we will not participate in this process. We will not go to the polls. And maybe that threat, or really that forcefulness on the part of citizens, will get us moving somewhere. Unfortunately, because of this drive to a one-party state where everybody and their mother is joining APC per day, it means that even on the floor, the level of debate will be quite challenging, since they're all facing the same direction. But I think, and this is where citizens have a huge role to play, in really saying that you were elected to represent us, and this is what we demand.
Thank you very much, Opeyemi. I'd like to bring in Austin Aigbe from Abuja into the conversation. Now, Austin, a lot of Nigerians were looking forward to the transmission of election results, the electronic transmission, which they saw it as deepening transparency and the free and to make the election process more free and fair. But countries like Kenya, Ghana, South Africa, Namibia already use electronic transmission despite facing infrastructural challenges similar to what we have in Nigeria. So why is Nigeria, or the Senate in Nigeria, deliberately ignoring their African peers? What are other countries doing that we can't do, or is there something deeper?
Thank you very much for having me. I'm sure that as all Nigerians already are thinking about, that the Senate wants exactly what happened in 2023 to reoccur. The question I kept asking is, who is afraid of transparency? Who is afraid of accountability? Who is afraid of credible elections? Elections take place at a polling unit. The simple ask is that this polling unit result be made available publicly, that the voters who voted at that polling unit, those have the opportunity to go verify their result. That indeed, what they had at the polling unit, the result announced by the presiding officer at the polling unit, is the authentic one that is online. So everyone can do tabulation, even when you are not even in the country. You can upload, you can download those PDF version of those results, and then you do a computation, and then you have an idea of what the results will look like. What the Senate is saying is that they've not altered it. And I listened very clearly and patiently with a critical mind, critical thinking, when the Senate president was saying they did not remove it. And it baffles me, because he himself knew what they did in 2023. Is a participant, or he was a participant, and like he said, he's also a participant, or is going to be a participant in these upcoming elections. I think the Senate, in an attempt to douse the tension, because they know people will react to it, he already has flagged it so that you don't react. Meanwhile, he knew we were going to react. Clearly, after the judicial processes, it was absolutely clear. Like I've always said, back in the last 5, 6, 7 years, that INEC rules, which is supposed to be a fundamental rule, does not have regard in the court of law. Nobody questions the rule made by CBN. Nobody questions the rule made by NCC. Nobody questions the rule made by other agencies that had the power to make subsidiary legislation. Nobody. CBN will tell the banks, do XYZ, and the banks will comply. Once upon a time in this country, the CBN changed the Naira note, and the citizens were the ones who suffered from it. Nobody complained. Why is it only INEC? Because of elite construction, elite capture, elite organizing. And it is time, like Yemi has said, that citizens need to organize. The truth is that only with, even though you don't want to call it mandatory transmission, because that's probably what I hear the argument people are making, that infrastructure and all of that. India has over 300 million illiterate or uneducated citizens. And India uses electronic voting, not even transmission, voting, and the voting is transmitted. And if you understand that, Ghana have what they call the beavers, even though they don't transmit, but they have a model that is effective. What we are asking the Senate to do is, before you leave the polling unit, you don't need internet to transmit these results. Just upload the results on the IREF. So the moment you are moving, once the device has connection with internet access, it will upload by itself. And I've used the WhatsApp as an example again and again. When you post a message on your WhatsApp, even though you turn off your phone, you turn off your internet, once you upload that result, it will be uploaded, but it will not go anywhere until you have access to internet. That's exactly what we're asking. And the law did not say that it is going to be the result transmitted online that will be used for computation. No, the manual computation will still go on. The result will still move from polling unit to the ward, to the local government, to the state, or to the national level, as the case may be for declaration. The electronic transmission is for accountability and transparency. And the Senate has just shot accountability, shot transparency head on. And we are saying no. That the Senate more recently, now that the Senate has done its bit, Yemi has said, we'll go to the conference committee, the House of Rep have already passed it. So it's now 1 + 0. So they need to get to a point where it's 1 + 1 and pass that and ensure that electronic results transmission onto the IREF is in the law, so that the judiciary in 2027 does not tell us that INEC have no power. So why do we even need the Electoral Act in the first place? Why have you just said in the first place that this Electoral Act shall be determined by INEC? Who stop and leave every other thing there? Let INEC control the terms of elections. All right,
if we were to go back, let's now go back to Mr. Adamolekun. If we were to go by the 2022 Electoral Act, like he has made reference to saying that, that is still in place, and you look at Section 60, you look at what the provisions are, it basically did not make it compulsory. Now, advocacy groups have said that this would lead us, sliding away from what democracy should be and what the long-term implications. We saw it firsthand in 2023 elections when the debate was about whether the transmission should be real-time. And we feel that, and a number of us believe that if this is done in real time, it will be able to at least put the citizens' minds at rest. People can monitor their votes. People can be a part of the electoral process. And we will see maybe less incidences of voter apathy, in the coming elections. But what can we do? What's the way going forward? If this is the position that we have to deal with, if this is the reality, is it all over? Are there other alternatives for Nigerians going forward?
I think, to be fair, thank you, Olive. To be fair, if we're unable to prove that we elected them and they represent us, and we then go into 2027 elections, Nigerians would then really have to make a decision around what kind of elections and what kind of political office holders we have. Because if we allow political office holders to get away with entering office on a platter that's clearly not free, clearly not fair, clearly not transparent, then we are setting a tone, or setting the tone, for the type of governance outcomes we're going to get. So I'd rather not do what happens in 2027, and rather us focus on the fact that we do have power. And we do need to make it very, and we've seen it over. I mean, this administration has been a classic one for flip-flops in terms of how citizens respond. We pardoned a bunch of criminals and citizens went in uproar. Then we suddenly decided we were not pardoning criminals again. I mean, there are several other examples that that are not coming top of mind at the moment, but I do remember that the administration had to respond because citizens acted. So I think really, and I would implore the media to not consider this a closed chapter, and that we focus on it. The names of the members of the committee are out. I'm happy to share it off once this call is over, and that you as media put all of them on blast, that the future of Nigeria's democracy and elections depends on the ability of this committee to ensure that the desires of Nigerians come through. And it is not rocket science. I don't think there's any Nigerian that doesn't want, well, besides politicians perhaps, that doesn't want free and fair elections or the ability for IREV to do what it says it's going to do. INEC was very proud of its innovation. So from Chatham House to newspapers to news platforms, at the back of 2023, we were playing all the clips where the chairman and INEC staff were all talking about how this is game-changing, revolutionary, blah, blah, blah. Then again, to Austin's point, and I think it's a very valid point, CBN makes resolutions, they have regulations and guidelines. They update, they don't go to update their act every time. I don't know the last time we updated the CBN Act. But when they want to change their legal framework, they issue regulations and guidelines because their act enables them to do so. INEC's Act also enables it to issue regulations and guidelines that form its legal framework. But our judiciary has decided that that is not good enough. So it's good for CBN, but it's not good enough for INEC. And we're like, okay, no problem. You want it inside the Act as law, we will do so. Now we've come back to put it inside the law as an amendment to the Act. And senators that we elected are telling us, nah, there's no need, we don't want. Nah. That's what we should focus on. It should be like Nigerians should all be like, you people, you will be reminded that you are employees of the citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And that's what we must stay on.
Okay, let me come back to Mr. Austin very quickly before we head on a break and then come back. My question would be, what does this do to the citizens? Because right from this announcement, we've seen the PDP has condemned this. The ADC has put out a press release. The PDP put out a press release. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar put out a press release. And everyone is talking. The Nigerians are also talking. Many of them have said, there's no need for me to vote. Are we going to see a complete disenfranchisement? Or better still, we'll see Nigerians who will just sneak back into their shells and just forget about the 2027, therefore leaving it to be whatever it chooses to be with this announcement?
One of the most single important piece of legislation in that proposed bill is the electronic transmission of results to enhance the confidence of voters. When you remove that, the confidence of voters is dashed. In 2023 election, one of the motivation to vote, particularly by young people, that the INEC chair make allusion to in that Chatham House conversation, but that the young people have the highest number, and young people were mobilized to turn out, including all of the sessions you saw in Tafawa Balewa Square where they came to register, at the Eagle Square, Old Parade Ground in Abuja where they came to register. It was a huge movement because the young people were confident that when they go to vote, they can easily sit at the comfort of their homes afterwards and verify their own results. Because we have told them, we have relied on INEC's document, INEC's messages, INEC's conversation, including the INEC chair, the then head of publicity of INEC, Barrister Festus Okoye, and co. We relied on the pieces of information they put out. on News Central, on all of the sister agencies. We relied on all of those. Suddenly, an INEC chair who ought to stand by his own word thought it wise that it was time for people to go to court and go and slug it out. After all, from ab initio, I argue that he was aware of what will happen on the D-Day. The D-Day came, glitches happened. I don't know what that means exactly. And suddenly, you refer the people who are asking you questions to court. This time, nobody, most voters, let me not say nobody, most voters, particularly young voters, who do not have the confidence that their vote will count, will not even come out on election day. What the Senate has done is to contribute to apathy. The huge amount of money we spend on election and the turnout, which is record low, is a shame on us. And the Senate is a major contributor. In Ghana election, they were even crying that their number turnout was less than 70%. It was about 69 or thereabout, a centile. Whereas in the 2023 election, only about 20% of Nigeria, maybe 22, I can't remember the figure now, less than 30 million, contributed to voting a president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Then there's already, it's not even up to 50%. Meanwhile, if you write an examination and you score 49, you are unlikely to pass. Right. You may be asked to sit again. But in this country, we use 30,000, but 20, even if it's 30%, so which is actually failure in your computation in mathematics. I think very important that young people, before you get to 2027, and I need to pick it back on what Yemi has said. 2027 is a D-Day. What happened before 2027 is critical and important. We need to organize. Madam Yemi, please put out those names. The Senate President read them out yesterday. Let's get the House of Reps names. We need to send them a message. They are supposed to represent us. We are not representing them. Right. They must listen to what we said and they must follow. This proposal is even an proposal.
Mr. Wike, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I completely agree with what you and Mr. Damolekun have said, in that we mustn't wait till 2027. Citizens must remember that there is action that needs to be done now, because at the end of the day, the office of the citizen is the highest office of the land. Mr. Damolekun, you have promised to give us a list of the members of the committee. We would love to get a hold of that so that we will talk about it and maybe invite them to come and share with us why they have decided not to go ahead with this. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen and lady. We look forward to having more conversations with you about this, hopefully positive ones.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. As we continue to mount pressure and look at what exactly we can do to ensure that elections in 2027 are free, fair, credible, and seen to be free and fair and credible by the majority, we'll be welcoming Mr. Peter Aka to expand this conversation with us after this break. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We are still speaking about the electoral amendment, the Senate's position. They've said that, you know, we're carrying rumors, quote unquote, on social media, and that the actual position is they're sticking with the 2022 Electoral Act. But joining us to talk about where we are, what the implication portends for the future of election in Nigeria, is human rights advocate, Mr. Peter Aka. It's good to have you here, Peter.
Thank you very much for having me.
This one we're wearing matching colors.
Yes, I mean, for Nigeria.
Yes, Nigeria will work.
It must work
in our lifetime. It will. Peter, let's talk about, I mean, you saw the video of the Senate President saying that we're misrepresenting and misunderstanding the current position on social media. And he says that what the situation is that they're sticking to the 2022 Electoral Act.
I mean, shame on the entire members of the 10th National Assembly. Every member from the Senate President to the Deputy to the Speaker should be thoroughly ashamed of themselves. It is unfortunate that in a democracy, Nigeria is being managed today by one of the most unproductive and dangerous assemblies of parliaments in the history of parliament. If Senator Akpabio is saying people are misunderstanding and that they are sticking to 2022 Electoral Act, so what was the need for an amendment? The most important aspect of that bill was the mandatory use of electronic technology in the transmission of results, which, by the way, is an INEC-owned resolution. The outgone INEC chairman wrote the INEC position paper 21 on the use of electronic technology to reduce human interference, because the shrine of INEC or election rigging is in coalition centers. And today, after 2 years of considerations, the Senate ended up. Why? Because it is clear that the current government is waging a war on democracy and the electoral process. And now everything is beginning to make sense and link up, because you can now see the reason for the defections. If you have a system that, because Section 60 subsection 5 clearly talks about the presiding officer will transmit election results in a way and manner as prescribed by INEC. Now the question was, did INEC prescribe the way? Yes. Paragraph 38, 39 of the INEC guidelines clearly talks about electronic transmission of results. But in court, the judge said, since it was not an omission to the act, they could not hold INEC accountable, even when their guidelines is a sub-law of a main law. Now, what citizens were demanding was simple. Take what is on the INEC guidelines, let it be represented on the Electoral Act, and amend the relevant section of the Constitution, and then you begin to see this mischief. Because all the way, they have never wanted to carry out electronic transmission of results, because it is going to foreclose election rigging. So when you have about 31 governors in the ruling party standing on the mandate which they shall collapse, and you make manual an option to INEC, it becomes easier for you to suppress the votes, because what you need is political gladiators to ensure that you are able to write results, you are able to alter them where you are going to alter. Because let me be very clear, the APC knows that if there are free and fair elections in Nigeria today, before 1 o'clock on election day, President Tinubu will not only lose body-lawn polling units in his house in Ikoyi, he will lose in Alausa, he will lose the Aso polling units. So everything that is being done is ensured to be done that elections are not free and fair. It is now up to Nigerians to leave the talking and begin action. Opposition, CSOs, Nigerian youth, we must march to the National Assembly and make our voices heard. Let the world know that there is assault on our democratic process, and that in 2027, anything short of a free and fair election will not be accepted by Nigerians.
What do you make of Senate President Godswill Akpabio's statements that it was lied to on social media, that the Senate didn't stop electronic transmission of results?
I think it is an insult to our collective intelligence that the number 3 person in the country will decide to brazenly engage in mischief and then try to turn the story around. I listened to the Senate President's clip, and it was clear, it was unambiguous, that instead of us altering it and making it mandatory, we are sticking to the 2022 Act. So if you are sticking to the 2022 Act, why did we go for a reform? So the Senate President is trying, I mean, the National Assembly, Auntie Yemi said she was going to give you, I have the list of all the members here, so you do not even need to go far. The chairman of that committee is Senator Lalong, the vice chairman is Senator Musa Yaradua from Katsina. We have all the Senator Seraki Dixon, Senator Adams Oshomole, unfortunately has been very busy in a private jet now, and you know, engaging in certain actions and all of that. So the Senate President cannot insult the intelligence of Nigerians. It is deliberate. There have been information that they do not want this electronic transmission of results to be mandatory. And it is all part of the same game to ensure that you drag it up till this point, because let us talk about it. Elections are in February, likely in February next year. We are almost late on even having an amended Electoral Act to be signed into law.
Push for a long time. You've been at the forefront.
Yes.
I mean, I saw you with the flag. You had gone there, you had pushed, you took your documents and everything. You were riling out and telling them, listen, this is what you need to do. You even went to Ghana.
Yes.
So why is it that, what makes Ghana far better than Nigeria in terms of deploying the
real-time,
and Nigeria cannot? Is it that we don't have the capability to do so, or is it the glitch effect or something?
What makes Nigeria different from Ghana is corruption and criminality. We are giants in corruption and criminality, so we do not know how to make systems to work. The only systems that work here is corruption, crime, and criminality. So if you are going to talk about 210 trillion missing from NNPC without any accountability, you can reference Nigeria. So Nigeria exists so that other countries can learn how not to govern their countries. And Uncle Joe, I don't know if I'm allowed to call you that, Mr. Joe, on national TV. Do you know that Mahmoud Yakubu, the immediate past chairman of INEC, was in Ghana to teach them how to carry out electoral reforms in their country?
I read about that.
Yes, in a process that he failed woefully after collecting more than 300 billion. Himself and Barrister Festus Okoye, the only places places they did not go were people's bedroom to tell them about electronic transmission of results. On the day you say there was a glitch. Having not explained what caused the glitch, today Mahmoud Yakubu has been appointed to become an ambassador. So what exactly was the basis of his employment or his appointment? So in Nigeria, we brazenly reward criminality and corruption. The only systems that will not work in the country are systems that government do not want to work. That is why when you see this level of mischief, they will tell you we are doing coastal highway, we are doing this, we are doing... No, sir. No, sir. Mr. President, democracies are built on credible elections. Can you take part of the how many trillion you are spending on coastal highway to fix technology for elections? Let the vote of the people count. If you have been de facto governor of Lagos State as President Tinubu for more than 20-something years, you handpick governors, and 26 years later you still need violence and coercion to make people vote for you, then you have a problem. There is a problem with that system of leadership because popularity should be influenced. Who is afraid of free and fair elections? Why is it that Nigerian Democrats, people who fought for June 12, that is what President Tinubu claims to do. But June 12 was all about free and fair election, that a mandate was given to a man more than 30 years ago, free and fair. 30 years later, we cannot have, until date, to show you the level of mischief, President Tinubu is the only president since 1999 who has not publicly committed to free and fair elections. So that system cannot work because it is deliberate. It is now up to Nigerians to ask, do we want to continue to talk about it or mobilize? Because the APC has no plan for free and fair elections.
Okay, now, in our conversation with Ms. Adamolekun, she was saying, because I did ask her about 2027 and what the long-term implications of this will be. Yeah. Are we going to see voter apathy? And she said 2027 is too far. Yes. Let's start with now to demand for impact.
Exactly.
And I know that you are one of those at the forefront of demanding for a change. But do you genuinely believe that these demands will yield a result?
It is not about me being genuinely, determined or agree that it will yield result. It is for us to collectively insist that this is a project that must succeed. If this doesn't succeed, Nigeria is moving nowhere. 2027 is already day of implementation. It is the actions that will lead up to 2027 that will guarantee what we want. As a people, we must ask ourselves the question, the power of the people and the criminals in power, who is stronger? APC does not have 31 states as it is being claimed. They have 31 governors. But unfortunately, our system is such that it is strong men who control it and not the vote of the people or the institutions working independently. So the entirety of victims of this rudderless kind of leadership, this renewed hopelessness, renewed hunger, renewed terrorism, renewed banditry, renewed criminality in government, we have never seen anything like this. We thought Buhari was bad governance. We did not know that there was a phase 2 that could be this terrible. So for us as a people, it is not sitting around to ask ourselves, should this be done? Can it be done? It must be done. And it can be done once Nigerians decide that enough is actually enough. This kind of mischief should not be allowed to continue.
Now, Peter, following the last elections, like we said in our earlier conversation, Professor Mahmoud Yakub went to Chatham House, was very proud, it was all over the media, and you've also alluded to that, this is game-changing. They use words like revolutionary and all of that. And we saw that the 2023 elections were flawed. We talked about the glitch. And, I mean, human society, you try to improve on your last results. And that's why these considerations have been happening for the last 2 years. They had town halls. You interacted with members of the National Assembly, the goal of which is to get feedback from Nigerians who they are representing. Nigerians sent them to the Senate and the House of Assembly, and they've come up with this now. I know the biggest elephant in the room is the real-time electronic transmission of results, but are there any other positives that you've seen in this electoral amendment process that has been will be passed?
The unfortunate reality about elections in Nigeria is the fact that if it were about laws, if people stuck to laws and did the right thing, the 2022 Act should have given you elections because it was clearly stated, even the electronic transmission of results. It is the fact that when you see a country that has to amend laws almost every election season, then there is a problem. When you want to see how corrupt a country is, look at the number of their laws. Laws for everything, but the crime and criminality continues to increase because it's not about laws, it's about implementation and enforcement of laws. So even now, the judiciary does not even rely on laws. Law has become something that is rocket science because judiciary will rather take to rule on technicalities than on the facts of the substance. So whatever that you call an electoral amendment, if it is not reducing human interference in such a way that it builds transparency legitimacy and credibility in the mind of the voter. Let us come to think of it. INEC said more than 93 million people registered to vote in 2022. 87 million collected PVCs. As we are seated here, less than 30 million people voted in 2023. President Tinubu is seated in Aso Rock with less than 9 million votes in a country of more than 200 million people. How more unpopular can a government be? Even if in an exam you score less than 50%, are you viable for promotion in such a contest or in such an examination? Why is the Nigerian situation is such a charade? So it is not about whatever clauses. The main protection of elections is from voter registration to voting to transmission of results and the announcement. If that system is not proved from corrupt politicians and criminality, we are wasting time.
All right. What about the flip side to this and the arguments that we may not be as ripe for this electronic transmission because of issues like, I mean, the cited network glitch or technical glitches. But there's also the network connectivity issues. You see how sometimes you want to make a payment and they're telling you there's no network. They're taking the POS around. So some people would argue that we're not as ripe as we think we are.
And you'll be disenfranchising
some because, well, there's electricity problems. Even in the last elections, there were people who would tell you that, oh, the system is down, you know, we haven't powered it. You know, just little technicalities here.
How are the mighty fallen? Shame on Nigerian leaders that in 2026 Nigeria, this is an argument as to why if system cannot be reformed with technology. So we should be seated and talking about why technology will not work in 2026 Nigeria. When Ghana, Democratic Republic of Congo, is doing electronic transmission of results. The giant of Africa is the one who is giving reasons. And let me tell you this mischief, because that statement is completely put to rest. Do you know that it was Mahmoud Yakubu who went to visit the former NCC director as far back as 2018, Umar Dambata? They set up a steering committee, invited MTN, telcos to come. Let us know how you people have been helping JAM to conduct CBT exams in JAM. Let us see how we can implement it. Unfortunately, it was too close to the 2019 elections. They did not implement it. So they moved it to 2023. And they had all prepared. The only systems that will not work in Nigeria is what politicians do not want to work. Even NCC, the National Assembly, remember when Femi Gbajabiamila was speaker, he invited staff of NCC. They came to tell them that we have 3G in some places, 2G in some places. INEC wrote to the National Assembly and said, we are not asking you to pass what we have not tested. We are telling you to make legislation to back up something we are already implementing. As we are talking now, there are contractors in INEC who have been awarded hundreds of millions of contracts on electronic technology to be used during the elections. When there was a glitch, which of those contractors was taken to court? Which of them have been prosecuted? None. What is the consequence? So we sit down here and make excuses. People are engaging in absolute criminality and corruption, and Nigeria do nothing. So it's just a
it's a convenient excuse.
It's a convenient excuse.
But what's happening to the Green Chamber now? Because it seems like they've also been pushing. They've been looking clearly. Don't you think that now that you have the Red Chamber making a decision, the Green Chamber will just say, you know what, time is gone. By the way, the INEC boss, Samu Piton, has come out with a statement that he's crying. His tears are based on, I don't have time. Let's close this reform quickly so that I can start work and release my timetable. Don't you think the Green Chamber will just say, let's just follow suit? I mean,
the Green Chamber, that is the House of Reps.
Yes.
Yes, those are their partners in corruption. It is right and left arm of the same criminal structure. What do you expect? They are all standing on the mandate upon which they shall collapse. It is unfortunate that today we do not even have a National Assembly. That place is almost an extension of the executive. It is an APC town hall. They are only able to sustain corruption. If the president needs loan to borrow from OPE Clefe money, that is what they have the capacity to. When it comes to the substance of protecting Nigerians and making laws that can govern the people, we were together. Auntie Yemi knows, even from the X space we handled during the public hearings, for you to know the level of mischief. Some of the venues for public hearings of this Electoral Act Amendment Bill were taken to government houses, state government banquet halls, because everything is carefully choreographed and, you know, put in this pattern to end up where it is today. So whatever that the National Assembly comes up with, whether the House of Reps, would not be far different from what we have today. This conversation must move from politicians to the Nigerian people. What exactly do we want to tolerate? Because the Nigerian political establishment will continue to test your ability to take criminality and corruption. Once you move to the next phase, they will show you that there is another phase to it until the people resist and say enough.
And talking about resisting and saying enough, because in football terms, we seem to be 5 minutes to to full time.
Yeah,
and the referee, Amupiton, is like Joe said, is screaming, time is up. So what specific roles can civil society, media, and citizens play right now to challenge or pressure lawmakers before this bill fully becomes entrenched? Is there still time to change anything, to adjust anything, or to reverse what the Senate has just done?
There is maximum time for us to put pressure on the authorities. In fact, aside this conversation, by now people should be at the gates or the complex of the National Assembly. Nigerians should be gathered in exercise of our fundamental right to peaceful assembly to ensure that lawmakers do what is right. But there is another extension to it. This document, because it is a fraudulent document, it is a document that will not guarantee transparency in our electoral process. It must be used by the opposition to mobilize Nigerians. Nigerian youths, because the problem is Nigerians, we get very angry, but the problem is in the channeling of our anger. And unfortunately, anger is not a plan. Being angry at a system is not a strategy. You can be angry for 65 years and make the wrong decisions, which is what we have. So nothing will change. If Nigerians are angry, what do we do with our anger? Sit back or decide not to participate in political systems? We must use this as a vehicle or as an instrument to begin to mobilize Nigerians, because actively that is what I'll take. Because this Nigeria, we don't die here, we live here. Nigeria must work in my lifetime. Demanding for an accountable and a transparent system is not a crime. The real criminals are people that are in government who are refusing to allow the will of the people to prevail. So whether there is time or not, the pressure that needs to be put now should be put, and Nigerians should set their eyes towards 2027. A lot can be achieved if all of us can come together.
Okay, let's talk about this, a lot that can be achieved. Right now, the core focus is on immediate transmission of results from polling units to IREF, right? But there are other amendments that people have spoken for. You know, there are those who have argued that the president should not have a role in appointing the INEC chairman, as it takes away the independence that INEC should typically have. What other amendments do you suggest that we should consider? You know, there were a list of other clauses that were put in before the National Assembly. We talked about, of course, appointment of the INEC chairman. If you are a player in a game and you are picking the referee, is that not rigged 50%, in your favor already? But then again, people talked about even if an independent body appoints, who releases the resources, so there is a lot of bureaucracy that can still be used to impose on the person to bend. There are also clauses of independent candidacy, because this entire structure of primaries, consensus or non-consensus primaries, the delegate system in the elections, because unknown to Nigerians, even the clause in 2022, that they unknowingly passed in the National Assembly that took them out as delegates. I don't know whether you remember a reason why some of them did not return. Do you know that in this amendment, that is one of the first clauses that have been reinstated? A lot of Nigerians do not know.
So they've reinstated it?
Yes, they have reinstated it. That is why I continue to, at a point I feel like a broken record, to tell Nigerians that this Electoral Act is not even just in the passing, it is in the content of what is finally passed. Now, electronic transmission of results has blown, because that is where a lot of people put their attention on. But a lot of other... Remember, they have been talking about giving, permission for prisoners to vote, inmates to vote. When we talked and we asked them during the public hearing, they said it is because there was a court order. So we now say, can we approach the court to get an order to impose on you to pass electronic transmission of results? The chairman said, it became a cultural dance and a singing, because they do not know how to explain it. You want people to go and vote in prison, who will be there to audit them? So you can tell me that from Oko Central Prison in Benin, the entire votes they came for APC. In fact, they wiped out everything. So it is easier to vote from prison in Nigeria than to vote when you are living as a free person. And we are not even talking about diaspora voting. I
was about to mention that diaspora voting
has been another issue. That contributes positively, that sends in, foreign effects to you and all of that. We do not consider them. There is high-level mischief across board. The set of people you see in power today, the ruling party, have no interest in entrenching democracy. We should not be ambiguous about that.
You see this independence that is lacking, and thank you for highlighting the other areas, but this independence that many have argued is lacking in INEC. Part of the criticism is also leveled against the judiciary. Because typically when there's an election, the next thing is, if you're not satisfied,
go to court.
Right? The court is supposed to be the last hope of the common man, and after most elections, we have series of months in court issues. Part of the process, again, of appointing judges for the Supreme Court, the president is also involved. So this has been an argument that, why is the president involved? Why don't you make it strictly a National Judicial Council responsibility that totally then affirms the independence of the judiciary and really entrenches separation of powers. So if you are to analyze what separation of powers looks like in Nigeria, what would be your actual analysis of where we are and where we should get to be able to say, of a truth, we are practicing separation of powers and the rule of law as it should be.
Olive, is it not a tragedy that in a democracy we spend, the budget of INEC for this year is likely to go up to $1 trillion. So we spend that huge amount of money to conduct an elections. Then in Nigeria, we then sit back and wait for the courts to choose leaders. That is the judicialization of your electoral process. So if the courts are going to pick leaders for us, why do we go to the polling units? There is a problem with that kind of system. The Nigerian judiciary has become the last hope of the uncommon man. They need to ask themselves the question. Nigeria almost does not have a judiciary. We have the legal department of every government in power. An institution that has no capacity to dispense justice for the states, rather for statesmen. That is why you can procure court orders. You have an APC emir in Kano, you have the state government emir, high court emir, federal high court emir. That is where we are as a people. If the judiciary had done the right thing to be a neutral arbiter, politicians will not weaponize the judiciary against the people. But in Nigeria today, the corruption has gone so bad that as a politician, save money and prepare to rig election. If you cannot save enough money to get to the tribunal, I mean, you can come from Fort and become the sitting governor of a state. We have seen it.
Just to add to what you're saying about the judicialization of the Nigerian electoral process. It's not even, you don't wait for elections anymore. Even political party internal matters. It's the courts that are telling us who's the rightful national chairman or secretary. Or which committee should be recognized and which faction should be recognized and all of that. Just before we wrap up, where do we go from here? What's the next steps?
The question is, what do we want as Nigerians? Do we want a situation where every 4 years we subscribe for another 4 years of lamentation? Because we call it is like a Shege subscription renewal program we hold every 4 years. Nigeria has many problems, but we must focus on the fundamental basis of fixing your problems. The simple problem of Nigeria is a lack of accountability. Leaders do not believe that power comes from the people. No matter how bad and corrupt they are, they can rig themselves back to the system. Once you fix your electoral process and elections become one man, one vote, the vote begins to count, every problem begins to fix itself. It is like autopilot because the principal knows that if I get there and do not perform, there is a system that can take me out. The hope and confidence of every corrupt politician is in a corrupt electoral process. So we should not sit around and just say, oh, it is hopeless, it is finished, until all of us come together. How many people are in the National Assembly? 360 House of Reps, 109 Senate. Let us calculate the 36 governors. Let us calculate ministers. How many people are holding Nigeria to ransom? And how many millions of people are the victims of this dysfunctional leadership? Nigerians must channel their anger to take right actions and get right results. This must not be allowed to be sustained because the plan is to rig in 2027. If you do nothing, what happened in 2023 will be child's play.
But what does channeling their anger look like?
Yes, what exactly do we do? We must focus on the National Assembly. We must ensure that the right law is passed. As we ensure that the right law is passed, we must begin to mobilize. We must set aside differences because they are going to weaponize a lot of things against Nigerians. It will begin by the time the election cycle comes. Let your collective suffering and pain, all of the insecurity, injustices, and hunger mobilize you, like what has happened in different countries in Africa. Let us see that Nigerians vote not for a Nigerian president, or not for a president of Nigeria, but for a person of competence and character. We must galvanize around that. And persons, we must drain the swamp from the National Assembly. We over-focus on the presidency. If we continue to have this kind of rubber stamp National Assembly, a bunch of persons who have no business with being in public office, who mean no good for the country, Nigeria will continue to drag. So let credible people, if you, Olive, know you have the capacity, pick a form, run for office, contribute money, Mr. Joe. People of character must go to the National Assembly and not allow Akpabio turn it into his...
people are really concerned that there are many other aspects in this electoral reform that we've not considered, although we're out of time. Which one? You just mentioned one, and I saw a message. Somebody said, please, can you re-explain? Which one was reinserted that would protect the members of the assembly?
It is the delegate system at the primary level. You know, the delegates that come to choose who is going to be there at that. political party primary level. That is what they have been able to do, so that they too can become super delegates and choose the candidates. Because you know it is parties that will present candidates for you.
Absolutely.
Whatever that they do at that level, you have no control over.
But now they have control.
They have control over it. Yeah.
Okay, right. That does it. Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you for joining us. It's been a long conversation. What we're going to do is, definitely this is a developing story, and Nigerians are really concerned. If you go on social media, on X, you see a lot of comments. People are throwing their hats off. People are tearing their shirts. But like our guests here have said, it goes beyond just being keypad warriors. The question is, what are you as a Nigerian going to do? Thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us always. Right, we'll go on a break now. When we come back, we have breakfast headlines brought to you shortly by Benga Borowa. Stay with us.
Hello, welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Abure. We begin with security matters. President Bola Tinubu has ordered the immediate deployment of a military battalion to Kaiama Local Government Area in Kwara State following a deadly terrorist attack that claimed at least 75 lives. The move, dubbed Operation Savannah Shield, aims to restore security in the region amidst escalating violence attributed to violent extremist groups. The assault occurred late Tuesday in the Woro and Nuku communities in Kaiama Local Government Area, where armed extremists reportedly executed villagers. In response, President Tinubu's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, announced the federal government's intervention on Wednesday night. He said the operation is intended to secure the area and prevent further incursions, building on existing security measures. Still talking security, 82 victims out of the 166 abducted from the churches in the Kuruminwali in Kajuru Local Government Area of Kaduna State have regained their freedom and are currently receiving psychosocial support at the Kaduna State Ministry of Women Affairs shelter. This was made known by Governor Obasani to journalists shortly after meeting with the freed victims who were hosted to a luncheon on Wednesday afternoon. Governor Sani says the security operatives are already making efforts to rescue the remaining victims, while the freed ones will continue their recovery. Meanwhile, residents from the affected communities informed News Central that security operatives have laid siege on the Kuruminwali area in a bid to effect the release of the remaining kidnapped hostages.
We're here with the 82 that have now returned back home safely. And of course, we're here to give them assurance that the remaining, by the grace of God, they'll all be back safely by the grace of God. And I have no doubt in my mind that the rest will also be back. And of course, as you're aware, they're all here undergoing psychosocial therapy, and we are trying to ensure that our medical doctors check them very well. And of course, we know that they've gone through a lot of trauma. And of course, it is a very difficult situation. And as a government, it's our responsibility to ensure that all of them are certified medically fit. And of course, some of them have had some very minor injuries, as you can see. But I'm happy that they are all recovering, and they have made them in a high spirit. Because since they arrived here, the government have been looking after them to ensure that all of them return back home very well without any issue of any medical issues. And of course, I also assure them, by the grace of God, the remaining will also return in the next 1 or 2 days by the grace of God.
The detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has filed a notice of appeal challenging his conviction and multiple sentences imposed by the Federal High Court in Abuja. In the meantime, a civil society organization, the Center for Information Technology and Development, has criticized the Nigerian Senate for delaying the passage of the Electoral Act being amended. The group says that this will negatively impact preparations for the 2027 general elections. A convener of the group, Yunusa Yao, adds that while the House of Representatives passed the bill in December 2025, the Senate failed to prioritize its passage upon resumption in January 2026. thus delaying the process.
The Senate to, in the next 1 or 2 days, to responsibly pass the amendment bill so that it can be transmitted to the president, and we hope that he would speedily assent to it so that Nigerians would be assured that an improved electoral law would be used for the conduct of the 2027.
Meanwhile, members of the Yoruba community in Abuja have staged a peaceful protest at the headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. They are calling for the immediate implementation of the Supreme Court's ruling on ward delineation in Warri Federal Constituency, Delta State, ahead of a House of Representatives federal constituency election scheduled to hold on the 18th of February 2026. Carrying placards and chanting solidarity songs, the protesters say conducting elections without proper delineation violates their constitutional rights, stressing that the existing electoral boundaries no longer reflect fair representation.
To demand for the release of the delineation results report. As I'm speaking to you now, February 18, there will be a primary in APC Congress to elect ward executive and order. Which word are they using? Is it the words that the Supreme Court has said they've nullified? Are they trying to disenfranchise us that we will not partake in the election, we will not have a representative? So we said no. We are in our manner, we are gentle people. We come here to tell INEC that the process they've started, we support them, it's very good, but they should come out with the results now so that we will be involved in the next election.
Let me, on behalf of the Honorable Chairman INEC, thank you most sincerely for the peaceful approach you have adopted on this issue. And on behalf of the Commission, let me assure you that this is on the top of the agenda of the Commission, this issue. In fact, the Chairman is already talking with the Office of the National Security Advisor to ensure that these matters are solved immediately. As a Commission, I believe we are more worried than you people there in terms of the issue of everybody participating in the next coming election.
And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. Breakfast Central continues shortly. I am Kaiama Local.
Thanks for staying with us on Breakfast Central. Let's take a look at the front pages of the newspapers. Our in-house man of the day, better still, our analyst is Chief Coordinating Officer, Sustainable Stories. Mr. Wade Ahime is here with us. Bonjour, bienvenue.
Good morning, everyone. Great to be here as usual.
It's good to see you, eh?
Morning, Mr. Ahime.
Mr. Borroway, you're back from holiday.
Yeah.
Well, I was shocked.
It wasn't a holiday, it was a holly. It was very short. Oh. It was a halls.
Halls.
Okay, halls.
I went on halls.
I thought halls is the longer one.
No. Halls is when you go abroad for holiday.
Okay. Oh, when I say went abroad, I
vacation is abroad.
That's fine.
I went
halls of vacation is
vacation.
Abroad.
I went for holiday.
Holiday is different.
It's good to have you.
I really don't understand. What are you guys talking about?
It's BC, Breakfast Central, Lingua Franca.
Oh, okay. Yeah, welcome back, Benga. I missed you last week.
Thank you very much.
Let's start with bad news, unfortunately, because...
Bad news?
Yes,
Let's just start with the papers first.
The bad news is the biggest story on the front page of the newspaper. Well, okay, since Joe said Nigerian Tribune, I wanted to start with this Nigerian, but let's do Nigerian Tribune then. Front page of the Nigerian Tribune, death toll rises as bandits kill scores in Kwara. Soldiers, forest guards take over communities. Red Cross claims over 162 killed. Lawmaker says 35 killed. It's a cowardly attack on civilians, Kwara governor says. Killing of over 100 is a national disaster, according to Saraki. But why does it not feel like a national disaster?
because we don't make it a national disaster. And this is only Kwara State. There were killings in Benue, there were killings in Katsina, and total in the last 48 hours, probably almost 300 Nigerians have been killed. And it's just sad because at the end of the day, we get the same response, statements by or from every other person. And I don't think there's any remorse. The security situation is still as bad as it is. Thank God we're, after almost a year and a half, it's come back to the front pages of the newspapers. Because for almost a year and a half, I can remember we talked about it here that, we're no longer, is it that the security situation in Nigeria that improved, but obviously it hasn't. First and foremost, my sympathy goes to the families of those who lost their loved ones. But we can't continue to sympathize with families when we have a government who has refused, or governments, or various governments who have refused to have the political will to deal with the insecurity in Nigeria. And here we now have foreign boots in our country. I was on another platform and they were asking me, and in my opinion, it's just a waste of time. Nobody knows your terrain better than your security operatives. But if you don't back them with the resources, with the political power to make sure they arrest those who are committing this, they get those who are financing and funding it, then at the end of the day, you can bring 100,000 Americans onto the soil. They will lose the war. And that's
like they did in Afghanistan. But let's talk about something else. Still talking about the willpower to do something and reactions to this. The presidency is not just folding its arms. Yesterday night, Mr. Bayo,
I'm going to interject you.
No, I'm getting somewhere.
I don't go anywhere because every time these things happen, we hear one big statement. And that's what has happened again yesterday.
No.
So I'm tired, I'm sick, I'm tired of just these statements that come out. Mr. Bayo Onanuga would always release a
statement that carries action because Mr. President has decided to deploy a battalion.
Which state was that?
But let's talk about what the presidency is doing. He's decided to deploy a battalion to the communities where this attacks took place. So it's been called Operation Savannah Shield. I'm not defending the government. I'm just telling you what is happening.
We have close to almost 50 operations that are happening in Nigeria simultaneously. Nothing is improving. So which one? This one is Savannah. There is the one, there was the one. There are so many that I don't even know the name.
So it feels like
are we now saying that every time
medicine after death?
Now, no, it's not like there's really, it's just death. There's no medicine. There are no nurses. There are no doctors. That's the way I see it. If every time Nigerians die, you deploy a new operation, then we are being reactive, not proactive. And security in today's world, in any world from time immemorial, is being proactive.
And that was the point I was trying to make, that, these people have died now, and Mr. President, just to show that the government is working, deploys Operation Savannah Shield, deploys a battalion to Kwara.
Where was that? And the president came out, he has instructed, please spare me, instructions, you see, anything you do, you ask a child to go buy something. Are you with me? How do you ensure that he or she buys it? You just send the child, Olivia, okay, go and buy me pure water.
When the child returns, you demand, where's the pure water?
No, you give the child the money to go and buy the pure water.
So are you saying that there isn't enough? Because if you look at our budget, defense always gets the highest allocation. Is it about the...
It's the will. It's the will. Nigerian soldiers are dying every day. And kudos to them. Infrastructure is zero. intelligence, nobody works upon it. You brought in foreign help, which in my opinion probably will never work. So what exactly are we doing? They've given us intelligence about those who suspected sponsors. Nobody has said anything. Nobody has been arrested. Nobody has been investigated. So what exactly are we doing?
Just before we move on to the next story, Wade, my final thoughts on the security issue. Let's also look at the enemies we're fighting. We're not fighting one violent extremist group. We're fighting multitudes of violent extremist groups who operate in different parts of the country. And their modus operandi is different. It's asymmetrical warfare, more like guerrilla warfare. It's terrorism. Hit the soft target, make the loudest noise, get the highest victims as much as possible, just for one reason or the other. That's why it's called terrorism. Do you think that, looking at the geographical space of Nigeria, is it possible for the government to be at top of the situation and be preventive?
Yes. And,
rather than reactive.
Oh, yes, and where, you know, when people talk about this,
how can they do that, given our limited resources?
Wait now, just listen. When people talk about this unconventional way warfare that we're in today, where did it start? The Tamil Tigers.
Sri Lanka.
Bless you. It took 40 years. It was a long time. And when the government decided to have the political will, it's about political will. It's unconventional, yes. I know people would say, oh, yeah, every human has a right, yes. However, where people kill innocent citizens of their country, not a country, of their country, then it's a crime against that country. And whatever you need to do, this is my opinion, you do it and get it done. And it happened in Sri Lanka. And today, they're better off for it. So what are we talking about? It took them 40 years of political will. In 15 years, we've not had the political will. Maybe 15 years down the line, we would have that political will. But you must have the political will to deal with it. When last, I was a child when I started hearing Tamil Tigers, and I had 2 kids. When nobody hears about them anymore. Is it like Benga? Exactly, because you must have that political will to deal with it.
Well, I mean, let's see. So sometimes when I hear political will, sometimes I find it a bit confusing, because you're looking at the fact that the government, through some perceived body language, would act like, you know, they're interested.
The body language.
First of all, 58.18 trillion. You see a total allocation here, 5.41 trillion. To defense and security. And with every budget, we always see that defense and security gets the highest allocation.
But I tell you, it's not
where
enough.
The money is going? Is that the issue?
So first and foremost, when you look at Nigeria's budget, about almost 50% goes to recurrent expenditure. I know what recurrent expenditure is. 80% of that is salaries.
Bloated salaries.
Whether they are bloated or not bloated, that's where it goes to. Oh. And when you say capital expenditure, what are these capital expenditure that they call under the budget? Have you sat down to look at Nigeria's budget? I've done it for so many years and I got tired of looking at it. What is capital expenditure? We buy software for...
Software,
computers. We buy computers. We buy cars. Chair. Yes.
Bridge
in accounting.
Bridge and flyover.
No. In accounting, those are called capital expenditure for the sake of it. But we must have a structure of budgeting in Nigeria that deals with, 1, infrastructure, expenditure. And when you talk about arming or providing the necessary equipment for security, it's not capital expenditure, it's infrastructure expenditure, because those infrastructures are the things that create, 1, the kind of, what's it called, intelligence that you can gather, the kind of weapons that you must have to fight this kind of things. You can't be reactive. We're just every time we, you know, at the point in time in Nigeria, you hear, oh, the armed robbers came and they had machine guns, and the police had, what's it called, shakabula, like they call it. Is that not a reactive system?
Okay,
we have
let's move on from insecurity, right?
Yeah,
and then
please,
let's go
move
to
on.
the electoral.
Worse.
Excuse me, electoral bill.
Even worse.
Senate passes electoral bill, rejects mandatory e-transmission of results. That's what's on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. Reduces notice of election from 360 to 180 days. Recommends 5 million fine for unlawful possession of PVC. We return to the 2022 law, Akpabio says. Ndume, Lalong, protest conference committee composition. Senate action, a deliberate assault on electoral transparency, article says, and decision harmful to democratic consolidation, PDP says.
You know, it beats me in a country where you have people in governance who are preaching that we should use AI technology. And you cannot do simple transmission of collation. So everybody is looking downcast and forlorn. But that's the reality. These are people who will tell you that AI, oh, yes, AI has its risk, don't get me wrong. But how can you, in today's world, 21st century, still be collating results on paper? Many schools today, they don't have, when we were growing up, it was report card. Now they have report statements that they wire to your
email. Or platform. They just say you log on to this platform, put the code.
God bless you.
You see
platform. A platform. And my National Assembly members believe that if we don't carry paper, that you can TPEX. In my profession, you are not allowed to use TPEX, which is standard. If there's an error, you cross it out and then you put whatever it is and sign. But it beats me.
TPEX is correction fluid, by the way.
For
those who don't understand, TPEX is the brand name, just the way they call all detergent that name. That starts with O.
Yeah, but anyway, Gen Zs.
Yeah. Gen Zs.
Correction fluids.
Exactly.
And I'm not sure many Gen Zs have seen correction fluids.
People that have not seen VHS tape
I still saw it in the market. People still
VHS tape.
My kids are Gen Zs. And I'm not sure, because I didn't use it, so I'm not sure they've ever seen it. I don't use correction fluids.
Yeah, it's professional.
You want them to collect my certificates that I worked
very hard for.
But my point is this. How can people, these same people will come out and tell you what AI can do and what AI cannot do. And you're telling me in 2026, 21st century Nigeria of the world, that we cannot transmit. Or, that's what they used to convince everybody in 2023.
Real-time results.
You cannot transmit real-time results. But if I want to register somewhere, I can go on, sign into a website, put my name, take my picture, click send, and then they send me back my details. I wait for real in this country.
Where are you going for? The minister for the minister just revamped the Nigerian passport system.
Oh yes,
online
and kudos to him. I was having a discussion about it a couple of days ago, and someone says, "Oh, or maybe he won't work." Why won't we work? Why? And I've said this so long. You don't need to go to a passport office. All you need to do is go to a center and then take up all your... And you create employment for young people.
Okay, I want to take some comments for YouTube and then just to mention to our audience.
Today is just not a
Please go on YouTube and drop your comments.
Today is just a sad day for me because all the things I see in the front pages of the newspaper is just annoying.
Good news is coming up. I'm coming.
Okay, on the front page of the newspapers, we can see here Ojonugwa Echie, sorry, on YouTube says, 2027 election is a done deal for the ruling party as far as this electoral law is concerned. We also have another comment from Olumide Alade on YouTube. Olumide Alade says, the irony of Nigeria's reality today is glaring. The same failures the ruling government campaigned against under the PDP have only grown worse. Security is collapsing, power is deteriorating daily. Yet, instead of tackling these core issues, the focus is on celebrating the defection of 31 governors. And Prince Ajibade says we are docile in this country. Keep your comments coming on YouTube, and feel free to call the numbers at the bottom of the screen so we can have a conversation with you before we wrap up.
You push to the wall. You know that when you push
they'll break the wall, and
even when you push them to the ocean, they will create space they will create space like what's it called, like Moses did in the Red Sea.
Some cheerful news, because Uade seems to be feeling the blues this morning, even though he's wearing grey. And it's not all doom and gloom in the newspapers. Let's just take some positive news. One of them is 2027 politics won't affect my job as FCT minister.
I rolled my eyes.
Wike says his job is going to be focusing on delivering life-impacting projects to the FCT residents. So that's one good news. Hold your thoughts to that.
What projects are you doing?
Flyovers.
Flyovers is rivers. He's talking of in Abuja.
Wherever it is. We had
Abuja flyover.
I was having a conversation on Tuesday. Are you with me? About the...
Are you sure you don't want Benga to finish the good news first?
There's no good news.
No,
let me land,
There's the second good news underneath it.
The second news. Nigeria to overtake Algeria as Africa's third largest economy. We're always good in talking about GDP figures, but we forget that 133 million Nigerians are still multidimensionally poor. And what we should be focusing on is Human Development Index, HDI.
Can you imagine that statement? Can you imagine that statement? How many times have I said it that when was the last time that Nigerian newspapers, Nigerian media published that Nigeria had dropped from the #1 economy in Africa to the #4 economy in Africa?
Nope.
How many times have I said it on air? So many times. But today you are telling me that that's good news. Are we joking?
There's another good news, hopefully.
Let's hope so.
But let me find monumental loss behind shutdown of refineries.
What is wrong with you?
And there's a group.
That's the irony of it.
They've come together. They say they want to sue the NNPC boss if they do not explain why the refineries are not working. But let me find good news for you. Let's go to another newspaper, Daily Independent, very quickly. Daily Independent. Okay, this is where we say, oh, lo. All the stories are looking the same way. Hey.
Joe, what is lo?
When I look at when I saw the headline, is it fiber vandalism threatening national broadband drive? The small ones that we have that we can use to do business is being threatened.
But in the business of journalism, dog bites a man is not news. It's man bites a dog. That is news. So they want to sell.
That's why you have
bad news that sells.
Okay. Former Benue Governor Suswam quits PDP. He put out the press release yesterday. Said he's done with the PDP. People say he's going to the ADC. Some rumor that is APC. So I heard he's now the biggest player in the transfer market. Who is going to grab him first with the good prices?
Well, there's only one team that has money to buy anybody in the transfer market now. And we stopped talking about the transfer market because there's only because there's only one. Remember when we were saying it at during the Hamatan season? Yes, now the Hamatan window. We said it clearly that it's only the team that can afford, and we've seen that there's only one team that can afford to buy the players in the market, and they are buying them, and they bought them.
31.
Well, I don't know how many. They are counting, so probably will be 36 by the time we get to 2027. So they would have taken all the first team players from all the other teams and put them on their bench.
Just sit down there.
Just sit down there, just be watching. It reminds me of those days when AC Milan used to buy all the players in all the leagues and put them on the bench so that the other teams can win. But that is a strategy, and people have used it and they've succeeded in it. So, but it's unfortunate, really, because I said it long ago that we're going to head into a one-party state, but nobody listened. But We're seeing it now. I remember then Benga was always telling me that, no, it's not possible. But you've seen the possibility now.
But those 31 governors guaranteed 31 votes. It's the people that decide at the end of the day.
The governors are telling you that they're going to get, like, those state governors is shouting, I give the guy
2 million.
Mr. President, I give you 3 million. I don't know where it is.
Give him 3 million votes. How many people are in Edo State?
I don't know. It said 2.5, 3 million.
Let's get back to
How
the
many
papers.
registered voters are in
I'm
Edo?
sorry, I have to take us back.
Please,
slightly. Take us to the director. Please, can you have the Nigerian Tribune?
There is a good news that you missed.
The front page of the Nigerian Tribune. Ogun State is celebrating 50 years, and the governor is known as one who likes to celebrate. And Ogun State borders Lagos State, the Center of Excellence Commercial Nerve Center of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And Owade, my question to you is there anything in Ogun State that is worth celebrating? Looking at the state of their roads, the border communities, the level of infrastructure there, should we expect more from Ogun State than where it is now? And looking at the number of heads of states that this state has produced, I'm not saying if you're president, you should carry all Nigeria's money and use it to develop your state.
That's the first mistake we make as Nigerians, that we think the president should carry all our money.
Or if it's from your religion.
Meanwhile, the state governors themselves are not collecting.
What's your take on Ogun State? For example, if Joe drives into this premises now and I see red mud on his tire, I don't need to have a GPS tracker on his car to know that it's coming from Ogun State. That's what Ogun State has turned to these days. I just need to look at the level of dirtiness on the tire.
Benga, that was below the belt.
No, it's not below the belt. It's the reality. I went to Ota the other day. It was a mess. And most parts of Ogun State and residents of Ogun State would agree with me.
I haven't been to Ogun State in a very long time. But yes, we should learn to celebrate our little wins. They are 50 years, so they should celebrate it. With
such a gigantic cake?
It's just a cake. That's how do you celebrate normally?
If you go and look at the budget for that cake now, you will not.
I don't want to do the budget, but let them. Sometimes,
budget feels like
sometimes some of these things, you know, we must always see the lighter side of things. And today, maybe I'm just not on that lighter side.
Okay, let me still help you on the lighter side. Now, still looking at the front page. That same Nigerian Tribune. You will see the bottom left corner of the Nigerian Tribune. There seems to be good news. Nigerian economy records 55.7 point expansion in economic activity. The report has it that Nigeria's economy expanded for the 14th consecutive month in January 2026.
On data.
As the composite purchasing managers in the...
You're a data man. I mean, that's what
I have challenged this data.
Let me give you the sectors. They said, so this is the Composite Purchasing Managers Index, PMI, stood at 55.7 points. The report showed broad-based growth across industry, services, and agriculture, with 31 of 36 subsectors recording expansion.
Based on the rebased economy, that we are not seeing where we were before, to build a comparison. How can I be analyzing data on what just came out, or data of only 1 year, and I'm not checking what has happened? Well, how do I know a trend, that the trend has come down or gone up? So, like, Olive, I'm sorry that, you know.
Wade, please take it easy on she's just the messenger. She's not the one that brought out the data. She's not the provider of the data.
But I just responded back.
When they came in angry today.
Let's go to this Nigeria.
I'm just being realistic.
This Nigeria. Imagine what we're doing today. Today, the title of this Breakfast Central paper review is called "Searching for Good News."
Okay, let me read. Before you read that paper, let me go to YouTube and take a few more comments.
Okay.
Ambassador says, people in love with chains will remain bound.
Exactly.
Frederick Bobby says, the issue is that Tinubu successfully tapped into the hidden aspect of tribalism and religious bigotry. Really? Okay. That we're on the wraps of the past, and since then we have never seen each other in Nigeria as one. I think it's us. It's not. I don't think it's one person. I don't think it's the president.
Well, like I always say,
that has done that.
I have a quote since Monday. The problem with Nigeria
is Nigerians.
Prince Ajibade says.
Wait, no. The problem with Nigerians is not the Nigerians. It's not Nigerians. It's the people in Nigeria who don't believe that they are Nigerians. So you might have to...
No, I'll leave my own way.
No, it's fine, because that one is speaking too much English. Yes, so they are Nigerians.
They are all Nigerians.
Prince Ajibade says 200 million people are being held hostage by less than 1,000 people. Why is everyone still feeling cool and behaving like nothing just happened?
Class,
Why is the parliament still open this morning? And this, of course, is in reference to what's happened in Kwara and in Katsina as well, which is on the front
and
page.
The electoral
and
reform.
Finally, last two comments. Occupy the Senate, occupy the Senate, occupy the Senate is what Emile Abayomi is saying. And Frederick Bobby says, when Tinubu was running for president, he mocked statistics, saying, now statistics we go chop, but he never stopped praising statistics since he became president.
You know, I remember that footage, Ollie. In that footage, while the president was campaigning, I remember so well, you had very popular governors behind him. And one of the governors, when the president said, what's his name? They said, Peter Obi. He said, Peter Obi, they quote. And the president said, I thought now statistics we go chop. One of the governors there, the way he laughed and almost fell, he did like this.
And now we are
I wish I could see that governor. But you were laughing then, that statistics. Why are you so dependent
have become
on these statistics?
Like The Economist magazine did put a piece out last week, talking about how the Nigerian economy has grown. And if that same Economist magazine, just watch, if they put out a negative statement or a piece on Nigeria, they will condemn the Economist.
So let me tell you.
So they
let me tell you something about
what
the
they want
Economist.
to do.
In 1984, the Economist wrote a piece about the late President Buhari, about how bad his economic policies were. And people had forgotten. Some people never even saw it in their lives. When he became president in 2015, they brought out that same thing after 1 year, just to show you that there was no difference. So this same economist that is telling me data today, are you with me? Based on a rebased economy in 2024, on data, they should go back to their data bank and use it, because we are all financial people. Are you with me? Go to your data bank in real terms. You know, on Tuesday, let me just quickly say this. On Tuesday, we're having a discussion when the president signed that states will now pay their subsidy amount.
Yeah, 3-point-something trillion.
Oh, yeah. They announced it yesterday.
Yes.
I know what I told them at that point. I said, all the federal government has done is tell you, you are now responsible for this. But before the money comes to you, we'll collect our thing. So, it's no longer, it's your responsibility, but we'll take it at source. Now, everybody is always shouting, oh, governors have collected 9 trillion. And I always ask this question, and anybody who is an economist, anybody who is a finance person, what is the real term, or what is the real value of money that we earn in Nigeria in foreign exchange? Because that's how you determine what the real value is. It's not in the trillions that have become.
True.
If I was earning $1 million in 2022, and it was 500 naira to 1, it's 500 million.
It's still not the same.
If I am still earning 1 million today, is it says 1.399 billion. Abi?
Yes.
Has the 1 million changed? Now, if I was earning $1 million in 2022 and I was buying things at 1,000 naira, I'll buy 10,000 things or thereabout. Or is it 1,000? And if I still earn that 1 million today,
you're buying things for 5,000.
I rest my case.
Okay. I think we also have to rest our case and exit the studio, because at the end of the day, we're saying that it's...
And one last thing. What people tend to forget is that costs rise faster than income.
Of course.
Yeah.
When income is rising by 2, cost is rising by 5.
I'm surprised by all these things you are saying.
Oh,
in your recent interview, did you not hear when someone said that Nigerians are already saying that food is now cheap?
Okay, so let me give you an analogy. Wait. Let me give you an analogy. When Buhari was leaving, a bag of rice was 30K.
Yeah, 30, 32.
Let's say 40K.
35. Yeah.
In 1 year, it went to 100. It went 3 times.
Yeah, it went to 100.
And then, because you stabilized, you pumped duty-free products right into the market, it comes down to
60.
Okay.
I rest my case.
Let's not end on a bad
And now it's going back
Let's
up again.
end with good news. Good news is that...
My lips are sealed.
The good news is that we'll be back again tomorrow, hopefully with better news. And Jasiri will be coming into the studio right after we leave. But thank you for joining us too. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for my...
I know.
You know why I'm happy? Like that. Okay. You know why I'm happy? You just have a dose of what we go through
every single
day. I go through it too.
We take in these stories every day.
You know me too, I see it every day. But I just want to talk about it.
And before we leave, our heart goes out to the people who lost their lives.
Yes.
In
to the people who were killed in Kwara, Katsina,
Benue. Our hearts go out to them. While we may not hear a lot of words or comments from the top, for us here, and we hope that you
their
stay
souls
strong.
Rest in peace.
All right?
May their souls rest in peace. And the only justice that Nigerians demand is to ensure that these lives are not lost in vain, that we do not keep having repeated incidents, so that we don't continue to ask, what is the value of a Nigerian life? And that's how we wrap up today's show. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back same time. Do well to keep engaging with us on social media, News Central TV. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
All right.